last time out took, what was it, 3 for 17 in the end, something like that, as the Foxes head out to the middle between the flag-wearing junior, flag-waving even junior cricketers. Right, sunshine, it's a bit humid actually, almost, as Ben Martindale and Joe Clark, the Notts skipper, head out behind the Leicestershire players. The two umpires today are Graham Lloyd and Paul Baldwin, two very good and experienced umpires, and they'll be hoping not to have too much to do, I would anticipate. We know what par is, don't we? Having seen two innings on this pitch already, it's going to have to be, you would imagine, anything between 185 and 200 to really test the side batting second, and that is what Notts will be targeting.
Yeah, Leicestershire chasing 184 on Friday, and yet you felt like there was more in it, didn't you? Leicestershire did get there moderately comfortably, winning from the it was the first ball of the final over, so you do feel there were more runs in it. What Leicestershire did so well was to keep the run rate down, get key wickets at key moments. Yes, Leicestershire out on the field. Opener alongside Joe Clark, their top scorer, really the main threat with the bat for the Outlaws. Healthy crowd. Plenty of them who maybe enjoyed the atmosphere on Friday night. A sunny afternoon in due or not, sort of sums up. Side, there is no run. So, just a reminder of the team's forms. Leicestershire. Games, I think they lost their last 5, didn't they? The first 5 of this tournament. As Mike Bolling, the second delivery is over.
Wickets for Ben in the competition so far this season at 9.52.
He's bowled okay. You mentioned sort of hot and cold. He's been
As well, all round, hoping to see the Foxes bowl to Clark. He's looking to turn off his hips. He does, out towards deep backward square. Mike is well positioned down there, so it is just the single to Clark, as Adam said. Really, if Clark doesn't come off, Notts will struggle really with the batting lineup at the moment that they have, and the form that it's in, or not in, as the case may be. So they really do need the skipper to make a big contribution. He's averaging 26. His strike rate is an impressive 154. He's on 2 now, watching as Hull is into the left-handed Martindale, who looks to pull. It's a bit too quick, it's on him too quickly, and it comes off a thick bottom edge, maybe even the Q end of the bat, and trickles down towards short third. Rishi Patel's down there, but Ben Cox moves across to his left to field in front of him. Good so far from the Foxes' opening bowlers.
Notts look a team out of form though already, don't they?
I was just thinking that everything about the body language and the sort of way they're batting, it looks as though something isn't quite right. Famous last words, but we'll see. In goes Hull and bowls, and a big swing across the line from Martindale. He cloths it out towards wide-ish mid on. Scott Curry comes running in, or running across to field, throws. Hull whips it, picks it up cleanly as it bounces just past the stumps, and Martindale picks up 1. But once again, an unconvincing shot, 4 without loss after 9 legitimate deliveries. Clark, Shropshire man, obviously began his career at Worcestershire. Slightly open stance to the left arm at Hull, and he goes down and he steps across, he lifts it into the air, scoops it down, he's going to get away with it. Ben Mike runs around from deep backward square. Well, it was a brave shot at this early stage in the innings, obviously with Patel up on the edge of the circle. You could just about understand why he's doing it, but Hull is sharp coming down the hill, and he was a fraction late on it, scooped it up in the air, and a little bit lucky to pick up 2 and not be caught. Moves on to 4. Hull turns, man out at deep backward square, and third man in bowls, and Clark goes back, turns it directly to mid-wicket where Louis Kimber picks up, throws as sort of elegantly and insouciantly as ever to wicketkeeper Cox, who wanders across and has a word that Jimmy Neesham limping a little bit. Don't know whether it's just his sort of slightly stocky prop forwards walk, or whether he's just limping a little bit on his left leg, favouring it a bit. We shall see whether he bowls. Mid-wicket goes back now, so Ahmed comes up to the edge of the circle at backward point really. Mid-wicket out and backward square out. Hull is in to Clark, trying to tuck him up. Clark steers it into the offside. Sol Budinger moves across from point to field. Clark picks up 1. Another good opening over for the Foxes. 7 without loss, Notts, but after 2 overs of the power play, Leicestershire would take that.
Very much indeed. The run rate just 3.5, and if you're making Clark make shots like that, the big scoop in the air, which was a big risk very early doors, it shows they feel under pressure from the very off. Mike will continue from the pavilion end. There's a nice little hum around the place here at Grace Road as Mike charges in now to bowl to Clark, and it's a straight delivery on leg stump. Just possibly moves a little bit into him. I think there's movement out there and pace off the pitch, which the 2 batsmen are struggling to deal with at the moment.
If you're listening on the stream, pleased to say we think that the audio issues have been fixed now, so all should be well, fingers firmly crossed.
If you want to watch this game and listen to our coverage, then head to the Leicestershire YouTube channel. You can hear me and Richard as Mike is in once again. He bowls to Clark, goes for a big heave, but that's going to be a wide down the leg side. So he'll have to bowl that one again. Yeah, Mike, 13 wickets, as you say. Best of 3 for 17, which he got against Northampton. He was the pick of the bowlers that day. But he's also very much capable of a sort of 2 for 40, 2 for 50 from his spell. But he started very well at the moment. 3 runs conceded from 1.1 deliveries. He bowls. There's a thick outside edge from Clark. Feels like it's hooping around out there. Or it's quick, or the Leicestershire bowlers are forcing that perhaps out of form Nottinghamshire batsmen into mistakes. 9 for no loss is the score as Clark just scampers through for a single. The Leicestershire St George's flag is out. I don't know whether that does at all, really. You could see that in an England game, couldn't you? An England football game.
It's certainly wherever Leicestershire are playing.
As Mike is in now, past the umpire. He bowls, and outside off stump. Martindale doesn't look comfortable at all out there.
Does not look like a man in form, does it?
Dangled the bat. He's just 21 years old. Came through the academy.
Yeah. Notts High School.
And he stands and waits. He's a broad-shouldered chap, looks very strong and athletic. Some young players, when they first come into the team, can look a bit sort of gangly or very youthful. He doesn't. But here is Mike into him, and he clips this away on the leg side. That was a bit of a gimme from Mike, and he's lucky to only concede a single out to Rishi Patel, a deep backward square leg. So he moves on to 3, but he's faced 8 deliveries in the process. Clark 6 off 8, 10 for no loss. You can probably hear on our effects box, it's all a little bit sedate out there, and that is because
Sunday afternoon.
Yes, it's a Sunday afternoon. But also, I think it's just the fact that Notts have come out very quietly in this game. Mike it is to bowl the penultimate ball of his second over. Just 5 runs conceded. He's up to the wicket. He bowls, and this is flashed down the ground. That's the first boundary of the day. High and hit hard by Clark, and straight back over Mike's head for 4 runs. Onto that quickly. And Notts needed that. It's taken them nearly 3 overs to get themselves the first boundary of the day, but Clark stands and delivers. 14 for no loss to score Clark down to 10.
It wasn't quite in the slot, but it was pitched up enough, wasn't it? And he could just stand, as you say, and deliver, thump it back over Mike's head.
I feel like that was perhaps a little bit premeditated as Mike is in. Final ball of the over. Clark goes for this, and he's got all of that. That's a huge 6 off his toes, and that might have gone into the indoor net. It certainly landed right into the trees to our right-hand side. That's a big blow from Clark, and a poor end to the over from Mike. 10 runs off it, having built up a lot of pressure, which Clark has blown away with ease. So 20 for no loss at the end of the 3rd over. Clark on to 16 from 10. Martindale 3 from 8.
Replacement balls come out already, so umpire will have to choose one. But I mentioned the ball before having not quite been in the slot. In a way, that one was, wasn't it? It was perfect for Clark, who's a strong leg side player. Standing up tall, Sam Wood bringing on the replacement balls. But he could pick that up, use the pace of Mike off his leg and lift it high. The umpire's looking across to the outdoor nets over there, seeing if the ball's coming back. Paul Baldwin has chosen a replacement, and if it does come back, they still can swap them back. So he's thrown one to Graham Lloyd, who's thrown it onto Josh Hull. So we will, for the moment, be using the replacement ball. Clark onto 16 off 10, as Adam said, 20 without loss. Hull, little shuffle at the top of his mark. And then those long legs eat up the ground quickly as he comes in and bowls a bouncer to Martindale. And it is signalled no ball by umpire Lloyd. No ball on height. It did look a fraction too short. It was a quick delivery, a quick bouncer. I was just looking at Ben Martindale's entry in the Who's Who. And best delivery you've ever faced, his answer is the ones that are too quick to see. That does not give you confidence in an opening batsman, does it? But if you don't see it, then you're going to have a problem. He's ducked. He saw that one okay. He ducked underneath it. In goes Hull. Bowls to him again. Slower delivery, a little bit short. But Martindale, up on his toes, tries to hammer it back past Hull, doesn't time it, and Hull stops it in his follow-through. Doesn't stop it cleanly, but does stop it. So 22 without loss, with that no ball on height. Just the one legitimate delivery bowled in the over. Got to be a little bit careful. Power plays can change so quickly. The Foxes. Hull is in and bowl short again. Big swing and a miss from Martindale. Just outside off stump, trying to pull across the line. And yeah, just essentially looked a little bit too quick for him.
Yeah. He's not getting the lines at all right, is he? He just feels a little bit slow on it. All innings, Martindale. 11 deliveries he's faced, scoring just 3 so far. The pressure building and building and building at this point.
Deep backward point, stroke wide third man, and deep backward square the 2 men out. Hull is in again, bowls to Martindale, slightly slower delivery just outside off stump. Clark could do with hurrying there. The throw came in from his former teammate, Budinger, of course a former Notts man. Missed the stumps, but Clark, I suspect, knew exactly what he was doing there, sort of almost encouraging Budinger to throw. Happily for Leicestershire, there was a backup in the substantial form of Jimmy Neesham, made sure there were no overthrows. Martindale picked up his single. He moves on to 4-23 without loss. Crowd, you sort of sense waiting for the match to take some sort of shape. Hull into Clark, who pulls, doesn't get hold of it again. He went back, and it wasn't so very short. It was onto him quickly, rather clothed it out towards backward square. Then Mike came jogging into field. Clark picks up 1, 17 off 11, 24 without loss. The Outlaws.
At the moment it's taking shape to be a low not total, isn't it? And it looks like it's a difficult pitch to bat on, but I sort of struggle to believe that after what we saw on Friday.
They can change characteristics, but as you say, I don't think so. In goes Hull, bowls, and Martindale's got that one away to mid-wicket. It was too full, it was on his legs, and wristy player, not particularly tall. Left-hander, strong off his legs, whipped it away, and he picks up 4. He'll feel a lot better for that. And Leicestershire must be careful not to sort of get sucked into the sense of this is going to happen. As I said beforehand, these are good players, and one of them gets in, particularly Clark. Well, he's made a lot of runs against Leicestershire in the past. And a decent start. If they can build a foundation, the Outlaws, they're still good enough to beat anybody. In goes Hull, and bowls. Martindale wristily feels for an outside off stump, and not convincing as it swung away and bounced through into the gloves of Cox. But they won't be displeased with taking 8 off the over knots. It's not exactly a rapid start, but it's a solid start, and they haven't lost any wickets, and they won't be too unhappy with where they're at.
I think you're right. That 4 and 6 off the final 2 balls and Mike's over have just calmed the pressure slightly. So even though Martindale has got off to a slow start, the fact that they haven't lost any wickets is the key bonus. I don't think Leicestershire will be too unhappy with it either. They have put the pressure, the scoring pressure, on them. No, I think they would have taken 28 for no loss off 4, don't you? 7 and over?
Yeah, probably, but they'd like a wicket.
Will it be Scott Curry to deliver it? He's the bowler from the pavilion end, and his first delivery crunches into Clark's pad, and they go for a leg by singles. Curry aggressively throws the ball at the stumps, but Clark was home and the throw missed anyway. 29 for no loss. Clark stays on 17.
You know, if they finish sort of 45 for none or something like that,
yeah,
they'd probably be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And
it's often about avoiding losing wickets at this stage. It's a stat, you never know really how accurate it is, but some of the studies suggest. Comes to that in a moment. Curry in. Bowls, beats Martindale, outside is off stump. If you lose 3 wickets in the power play, you've got a 20% chance of winning. But if you lose 1 in the power play, you've got about a 60% chance of winning. So
you've got to, yeah, you can't be sort of 10 for 1, can you? It's got to be but you wouldn't.
Yes, agreed. Yeah,
But I take your point. 40 odd for one. You're very much in the game.
Right arm over the wicket. Scott Curry runs in now past the umpire to bowl to Martindale. He hits this high in the air. He's going to get 4 for it. Not an utterly convincing shot. Clips off his heels and it races away. A little bit too straight perhaps from Curry. He gets 4. And the score moves into the 30s now for Nottinghamshire. They are 33 for no loss. Martindale into double figures, having faced 16 deliveries. You never know, we're sort of talking about the apparent slowness of the start, but you never know. Curry in, bowls. Martindale goes for a big heave, and this is going to find the gap as well. That was a bit more fortunate, even more fortunate, as it splits the two fielders out in the deep on the leg side. There's a deep mid-wicket and a deep square leg, and it found the gap perfectly. Had there been a man anywhere near it, it would have gone straight into his chest, into his grateful hands. But 4 it is to Martindale. 16 now for him, 37 for no loss, and that run rate going up towards 8. And now suddenly, as Richard was hinting at, the power play begins to take shape for Notts. Curry in, bowls. It's a beautiful Yorker outside off stump. Nothing Martindale can do about that. That goes through his defences. So 37 for no loss. The score remains. Interesting Curry, really. Was the star of maybe the first few matches, but then went for 56 against Worcestershire. Didn't do too badly against Northampton. None for 29.
He's still even a non-for. He's still the top wicket taker for the Foxes in the competition with 16.
And he's in again to bowl, and bowls a good bouncer that time. Oh, it's down the leg side though, and wide it is. I think you heard the groan from the supporters, because I think they thought it might have been given on height, but I presume it was entirely given on width. And so what's the replay again now? It was well down the leg side. Yes, goodness me. But of course not.
No possible complaints, folks.
Curry it is. Running away from us. He's up to the wicket. He bowls. Flashed that outside off stump by Martindale. He's played and missed at a lot of deliveries in this innings, but he did get a few away to the boundary in that over. 9 off it. Curry's first. Nottinghamshire are 38 for no loss in this T20 blast match. Martindale 16. Clark 17. This is all still sort of waiting to burst into life, this game, but it is nicely poised with these two still in, although not playing fluently.
Clark obviously looking the more dangerous of the two, but Martindale has managed to get a couple away. Clearly not a man in form, but you know, you can play yourself into form in an innings. Mike, so he'll be bowling 3 overs in the power play, which isn't easy. Can he pick up a first wicket for the Foxes? Backward square and mid-wicket, the men out as he comes in and bowls to Clark. Slightly slower delivery on off stump. Clark adjusts. There is still a touch of movement, he indicates with his right hand, Joe Clark, and he wanders forward and just looks a little suspiciously at the pitch, prods away. Still has a little bit of grass on it. Leicestershire left a bit of grass on it for the Northants game, obviously. And it has still a green tinge as Mike comes running down the slope and bowls, and it's cut by Clark and cut to the boundary. It was just enough width, waited for it, and he steered it away between Rishi Patel and Sol Budinger out to the boundary in front of the meet. And that really was rather meat and drink for Joe Clark. He moves on to 21 off 14, 42 without loss. Still 4 balls to go in the power play, which is beginning to swing quite firmly towards the Outlaws.
Yes, I feel slightly naive for feeling like it was all going terribly for them, but the loss, the fact they haven't lost any wickets is really turning in their favour.
Mike is in, bowls. Clark is looking to drive out into the offside. Lewis Goldsworthy has to sort of bounce rather to his left and back from the edge of the circle, and Clark and Martindale can pretty much stroll a single. Clark on to 22, 43 without loss. Yeah, no point thinking about the Birmingham game on Friday if they don't win this one, the Foxes. No pressure in terms of the individual game on the players of Nottinghamshire. They can relax and just do their best. In goes Mike and bowls, and it's pulled around the corner for 4 by Martindale. It did rather sit up. He banged it in, and he looked slightly surprised momentarily, Martindale, but he's a wristy left-hander. He turned his wrists on it, not from their ideal position, but he got plenty of the ball, and it is a short boundary on that side of the ground, the west side of the ground, and he picks up 4 and moves on to 20 off 20, 47 without loss.
Yeah, Leicestershire need a wicket, and soon, don't they? This is developing into a decent opening partnership.
Mike bowls, again a little bit short. Martindale goes back and turns it down towards deep backward square. Rishi Patel is the fielder there, throws on the bounce to Ben Cox, who tiptoes carefully up the pitch to avoid upsetting the umpires. Martindale takes his single, moves on to 21, almost level with Clark now on 22. 1 ball to go in the power play. They get past 50 knots without losing a wicket. They'll be quietly rather pleased. Mike is in and bowls. It's full and it's driven by Clark out towards mid off. Curry fields moving across to his right. Clark takes 1. So, well, not quite 50, but 49 without loss after 6. And I suspect if the Outlaws had been offered that beforehand, they would have readily taken it.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly. And what looked like a very slow and lethargic start from today's visitors. 7 for no loss after 2, and of course they were 10 for no loss with 2 balls remaining in the third. But Clark and Martindale have come back into it. Clark is 23 from 16. Martindale is going at a run a ball, 21 from 21. And they've turned to Rehan Ahmed straight away after the power play, which they've done now in the last 3 games since his return from injury. Ahmed's been the pick of the bowlers since then. The England all-rounder spins the ball from right to left and comes in now to Clark. Tosses this one up. He's hit that high up in the air. No, is this going to go straight to Goldsworthy? No, it's going to go over his head for 6. A gimme from Rehan Ahmed to start us off. And that is dispatched by the right-handed Clark over Goldsworthy's head at deep mid-wicket for 6 runs. It's all gone quiet at Grace Road because these two are starting to build a handy relationship. They're over 50, 55 for no loss.
Horrible from toss on the leg stump, knee-high. You could have done with a few of those deliveries yesterday, couldn't you?
Yes.
Take the pitch out of the equation.
Yes, we'll come to that in just a second. It's a miserable day for the Quorn second 11 yesterday, of which I was a part. In comes Ahmed, past the umpire, bowls. This one's full again, barely uses the pitch. It lands right at the toes of Clark. Yes, my team was bowled out for 31. I was the 3rd top scorer with a mighty 4. The top scorer got 6. The 2nd top scorer 5. Ahmed. He's in, he bowls, and this is hit down the ground. I don't think that's going to go for 4. No, it's straight into the hands of Neesham at long off. And the pitch was, as Richard hints at, basically unplayable. We bowled the opposition out for about 80, which looks like the equivalent of about 190 on a normal wicket. You get the same ball, one would be fending in front of your face. The other one would die, or the other one would zip off the seam. It was basically unusable. For Ahmed comes in, bowls back, goes Martindale, crunches to cover. There is no run. A guy nearly got bowled having ducked underneath the ball at one stage. It nearly sort of bounced underneath his head but died so much it came back and hit the wicket. Swept by Martindale. Delivery from Ahmed. This isn't a great over from Ahmed. That was 2 straight, 2 on the leg stump, and it's swept by Martindale behind square. 22 he moves on to, 57 for no loss the score.
Rehan plays his club cricket over in Nottingham, so he probably knows quite a few of the younger Notts players. Martindale, for example.
In comes Ahmed, drags this one down. It's hit straight down the ground. Club's baseball style for 4. Beats Curry racing round down there. And that was another poor ball from Ahmed. That has not been a good over. He's been so consistent for the Foxes, has Ahmed recently with the ball. But that
12 off it.
Yeah, that was not up to his usual standards. And since he's come back, he's got 1 for 21 for 37. He's got a 7.4 throughout the whole competition, but that was 12 off that. And now Notts are right in this, 61 for no loss with 7 overs gone. That run rate 8.7 and over.
Well, Jimmy Neesham is now going to bowl from the Bennett end, so if he was limping, it's not clearly an issue for the New Zealander. He's going to go around the wicket to the left-handed Martindale. Obviously out of the power play now, so 4 men allowed outside the circle. He's got a sweeper on the cover boundary. He's got a third man. He has a long leg. He has a mid-wicket.
Carlos Alcaraz setting a break up against Novak Djokovic, 6-2 in the first set in the men's singles final.
Neesham over the wicket, in fact, to Martindale, outside off stump, had to reach for it, got plenty of bat on it. Kimber dived to his right, that extra cover, managed to stop the ball, or at least parry it down towards his teammate Sol Budinger at cover stroke point. And as a consequence, Martindale has to settle for 1. He moves on to 23, 62 without loss. All change for the right-handed Clark. Neesham leans forward before getting into his run-up and bowls. Stands up tall, Clark, and steers it nicely out to backward of point, almost wide third man, and Goldsworthy running down the rope, can't get there, and Clark sort of, well, hitting with the economy of sort of excellence, really. He is a fine player on his day, Joe Clark. Not much foot movement there, but he stood up tall, waited for it, opened the bat face and cracked it away to the boundary. And this is a really useful open partnership now for the Outlaws. 66 without loss as Neesham is in. Clark steps across, plays it off the stumps, out towards deep backward square, wristily. Good batting though by the Notts skipper. Got your 4, take 1 then. You don't have to try and hit the next ball necessarily for 4 unless it's in the right place. So to do, he moves on to 39, 67 without loss.
Yeah, 67 as you say, 7.3 overs. That run rate has gone up, and the slow start seems like an age ago. Leicestershire don't have the answers at the moment.
Neesham bowls to Martindale, who looks to swing across the line. It was there to be driven, but he was trying to hit across the line, as he seems to do when the ball is pitched up a little bit, and it slid inside the bat and just past the off stump into the gloves of Cox. Continues to be very much hit and miss, or hit or miss, Ben Martindale. At the moment, as far as the Outlaws are concerned, he's hitting often enough to be playing a useful part in this opening partnership. Ice cream van somewhere in the Ayleston district. In goes Neesham, bowls short, pulled up into the air. Is it going to drop short of Rehan Ahmed? It is. Ahmed dived athletically and stopped the ball on the bounce. It was an attempted sort of pull stroke hook by Martindale. Into the air it flew, but it only flew about sort of 40-45 yards. Ahmed was on the mid-wicket boundary, came sprinting in, and a graceful sort of swallow dive towards the ball. He gave it everything, couldn't quite get there.
Great effort from Ahmed, but there's been a bit of that today, hasn't there? There's been a few flashes, few chances in the air. The shots have found the gaps from an Outlaws perspective.
Right-hander on strike, so Patel goes back to long leg. Curry comes in from long off to mid off. In goes Neesham, bowls, and it's smashed out to Goldsworthy, who takes the catch on the point boundary by Clark, who raises his eyes to the heavens because he hit it pretty cleanly, but he picked out Goldsworthy. And, well, that cheer, he's right in front of the Uptonsteel, the popular seats there, but there's a hint of relief about that cheer as well as joy.
Hugely, and you can tell by Clark's reaction as well that he felt he was in, that he was playing very nicely, and that he possibly set himself up for his second big innings in a row against the Foxes, but he's a bit unlucky there. He picked out the man that got all of it, and and the wicket falls. Leicestershire needed that so desperately, and they finally got it at the end of the 8th over. Nottingham 1 for 7. That's a very good over from him in the end, despite conceding a boundary from the over. That's an excellent opening partnership though between Clark and Martindale. But Clark, you felt, was always the more dangerous one, didn't you? So good to get him
better
going.
batsman, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a class act, really. Jack Haynes is his replacement.
Another ex-Worcestershire man replaces the departing Clark, who started at New Road himself. Lewis Goldsworthy will bowl his first over from the pavilion end. Left arm, he's going to go round the wicket and bowl to the left-handed Martindale. He's 24 not out. The run rate 8.5 and over as Goldsworthy is in. Back goes Martindale and plays again across the line. That's quite a regular part of his innings today.
Jack Haynes is known as Clunesy. Can you guess why? I'll show you his picture and you'll immediately understand why.
Yeah, Clunesy.
As in Martin
Yes,
Clunes,
as in Martin Clunes, yes. He's got... he might be able to hear you criticise him with those ears. Goldsworthy in, about forward goes Haynes. Criticise the stretch, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry, no, I was wrong there. Your comments, sorry, not criticism. As Goldsworthy gathers the ball, as there's a single taken, Haynes is off the mark with a drive forward of square, 70 for 1. In comes Goldsworthy, swept by Martindale. That's along the floor. A little bit early on that, I think, Martindale, and so Nottingham will get round to it, and 2 more added, 72 for 1. Martindale on to 27.
A bit surprised that Ben Slater didn't come in ahead of it. I think if our wicket had fallen early, Ben Slater probably would have come in at 3.
As this ball is dispatched for 6 by Martindale. It's a reverse, it's not really a reverse sweep, almost a reverse pull, isn't it? Because he didn't get down on one knee, but he switched it up and hoisted it square of the wicket for 6 runs. And that's a decent shot from Martindale, used so regularly now, that switch shot, and he moves into the 30s.
Comfortably his best score of the season so far in this competition.
As Goldsworthy is in, a slow delivery, holds back a little bit Goldsworthy, and forward goes Martindale, clips it into the leg side, 79 for 134 for him. 79 for 1 the score. The final ball now of the 9th over. 11 runs have come off this Goldsworthy over. He's relatively consistency, going at about 7 throughout this campaign. Forward comes Haynes and just drives him off the legs into the leg side. He will get a single. He'll keep the strike for the next over. So 9 overs gone, 80 for 1. That run rate at 9 and over pretty much. Leicestershire will need another wicket, I think.
They will be concerned. They won't be intimidated. It's not like they're sort of on 100 for 1 off 8 or something like that. And they know, the Foxes, that they can chase down sort of 180 potentially on this pitch, and that is what the Outlaws will need to get a competitive score. But they are on their way to getting a competitive score. A side that has been struggling sort of for consistency in the competition. So there will be some concern. Ahmed is going to try his hand from the Bennett end now, see if he gets a bit more joy than from the pavilion end. He conceded 12 runs in that, and that's a little bit wide outside off stump. Haynes cuts it out to Goldsworthy, who doesn't take it cleanly, or doesn't field it cleanly at the first attempt, but grabs it sufficiently quickly at the second to prevent a second run. So Haynes moves on to 381 for 1. Martindale looks around him, sees that there's 2 men on the offside, saving one on the edge of the circle as Ahmed tosses one up, gets to it on the full. Martindale clips it out to deep mid-wicket. Running in to meet the ball is Goldsworthy, who'll be on first name terms, I would imagine, with quite a few in the Uptonsteel stand. He spends much of his time out there when he's not actually bowling. Fine fielder, very good cricketer. In goes Ahmed, bowls, whipped across the line by Haynes. Quick hands by him, and Martindale wants a second, and he's right to want a second. Haynes hesitated, but it was Martindale's call. He was running to the danger end as Hanscom, who hasn't quite got the strongest arm in the side these days, had a bit of ground to make up to the ball as well. Ahmed is in to Haynes, who sweeps, Not entirely convincingly. It runs quite slowly out towards deep mid-wicket where Kimber is the fielder, but busy off the over, both these two at the moment. 85 for one. Haynes on to 6. Martindale has 35. Ahmed bounces in and bowls. Slog swept out towards deep mid-wicket again. Not convincing. We're not just saying that. He isn't middling very much, Ben Martindale here, but he's still out there. He's got 36 as, again, Goldsworthy was the fielder running across to his right. 86 for one, coming up to the halfway point of the innings. Ahmed in 2. Haynes backs away and then drives, having made that little bit of room to free his hands. Again out to Goldsworthy, who's on the cover boundary to the right-hander. 1 is taken. Haynes moves on to 7. 87 for 1 after 10. It's a solid start.
Yep.
By the Outlaws. Can they build on it? Can they sort of put together some sort of intimidating score?
Well, what Martindale has done, it's funny, you sort of talk about this kind of innings in club cricket, don't you, when you come in and it might only be 50 for 1 off 20, but what you've done is, well, you've sort of seen off the danger, you've laid a platform for some of the other guys to come in and whack it around. Now, I'm not so Martindale may go on here, but it sort of felt like that kind of innings, hasn't it? It's not been too many risks, but it doesn't feel like he's timed the ball overly well. Leicestershire's bowlers certainly haven't been dispatched around the ground. Josh Hull will bowl his first over from the pavilion end, his 3rd in total. His first 2 went for 13, and his first delivery is, it nearly goes onto the stumps from Hayne. It sort of hits his side and then bounces round and comes round his back after he turned to look where the ball had gone. No run comes off that, so Haynes stays on 7.
Haynes has been a fixture in the Notts T20 side without ever really having a really solid season. 170 runs with a best of 51, averaging just 17, and his strike rate is only 111, so arguably a little bit fortunate to have retained his place.
Well, I said that of a few Notts batsmen though this year, considering their form. Hull left arm over the wicket, bowls a full delivery. It's a perfect Yorker outside the off stump, and it's missed entirely by Haynes, who went to drive it, and so he stays on 7. I mean, you look at the stats really. Clark, the only batsman past 200. You got Martindale, who's got more runs today than he had in the previous 4 innings that he played in this competition. Haynes has struggled, Moores has struggled, Montgomery's struggled. Hull it is, running away from us. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, and this is hit high up in the air. There's a fielder at deep mid-wicket. Goldsworthy's under it, takes the catch. It's a very good catch in the end. He was falling forward and sort of picked it up off the floor. And so that is a big wicket for the Foxes. Haynes has to go for 7 off 9 deliveries. He'd never looked comfortable out there, and Hull gets his first wicket of the day. It's Leicestershire second, and have they just forced the door open slightly back into this game? Notts 87 for 2.
It was almost exactly the same catch that Goldsworthy took to dismiss Clark, wasn't it? Sort of had to get down low in front of him, but never really looked like dropping it. Got in a very good position, and yeah, he'll be very, very popular with the Leicestershire faithful who occupy those seats out there. Haynes, as Adam said, just never looked happy out there. He's certainly never fluent. Matthew Montgomery comes to the crease to replace him. Montgomery, 152 runs in his 9 innings this season, averaging a few more than Haynes, but 2 of those innings were not outs, so a best of 33 for Matthew Montgomery.
Hull, his head bouncing as he runs in, bowls a fast delivery, a straight 1-2, and it's a dot ball. No runs off the first 3 deliveries of this over. First 4 deliveries of this over, I should say. A very, very good over from Hull so far. We're on track for a wicket maiden, he says, almost certainly beckoning in the commentator's curse. Leicestershire haven't won the last 3 games against Notts. They will. They've always prided themselves on being the plucky underdog against their big rivals, getting good results against them. Can they do the same here as Hull charges in past the umpire? He bowls a short delivery and Cox does brilliantly to stop that. And he's told that's his one short delivery for the over. I thought that might be given a wide, Richard.
That was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's getting quicker, you know.
Cox with a magnificent one-handed take above his head. Right up in the air to stop that. Top certain 4 byes. It was still climbing, it felt like, as he took it.
Accelerated off the pitch, didn't it?
Final ball of the over. We've had no runs off it. This could be a wicket maiden. Hull on his way. He's up to the wicket. He bowls and he's missed by Montgomery. Wicket maiden for Josh Hull. What a fantastic bit of bowling. 3 overs, 1 for 13 for the young academy graduate from the Foxes. And now Leicestershire will feel they're right back in this. 87 for 2 off 11. Still waiting, I think, Richard, for this innings to sort of form into shape. And that over hasn't helped us at all, has it really? Apart from suggesting that it may go Leicestershire's way.
Yeah, they needed Clark to sort of bat through to almost 16, 17 overs, really. You feel, anyway, it's a relatively inexperienced sort of batting lineup. Certainly not in form anyway, batting lineup. They needed someone like Clark. Ahmed is in again too. Martindale hits it up into the air, could be caught at long on. It's going to drop short again. He's getting away with it all the time at the moment, Martindale, because he's not hitting the ball cleanly. It's dropping short of the fielders. Curry came chasing in from the long gone boundary. It was hit up into the air. It was an attempt to clear Curry. It just dropped 30 yards short of him. He wasn't trying to hit it short of him, but anyway, he's still there. He's on 37 now, 88 for 2. What will the South African Montgomery, the Johannesburg-born Montgomery, make of Ahmed, who is in? Bowls, he slap drives it, or attempts to reach for it and slap it out into the offside. Doesn't hit it cleanly, it runs out towards backwards square. Goldsworthy is the fielder, getting through plenty of work out there, and he runs back to his probably favourite position at mid-wicket. In goes Ahmed, backing away is Martindale, chopping it off the stumps, but only as far as Kimber in the covers. It's a good squeeze going on at the moment now from Leicestershire, but so it is partly due to the batters as well. Martindale goes for the sweep. I think it was probably outside leg, and umpire Graham Lloyd doesn't shake his head, but sort of tilts it to one side, and then he explains to Rehan Ahmed why he hasn't given it out. I think it did hit him outside the line. In goes Ahmed, bowls, back goes Martindale, swats it straight back up the pitch on the bounce to Ahmed. So Ahmed proving as hard to get away, almost as hard to get away as Hull in the previous over. Is in, bowls, back goes Martindale, and an unconvincing sort of back foot drive through the vacant mid-off area out to long off, gives him 1, moves him on to 38, but 3 off the over, so 3 obviously off the last 2 overs, and the Foxes have got control. Well, they didn't lose control of the scoreboard, but they are now you feel in almost complete control of the scoring rate.
So what that will be, 3 runs off the past 12 balls, and there's only 7 runs off the over before that. So in the past 3 overs they've only conceded 10 runs. They've hauled this right back in. Martindale, left-hander, facing Scott Curry, who returns at the pavilion end. He's right arm, he bowls. There's a massive heave from Martindale. I don't think he's connected with any of those today, where he's gone for the big whack. The right arm bowling across with the angle, and he's not connected with any of them. We haven't had a boundary since the 6 from Martindale in the 9th over. As Curry runs away from us now, he's up to the wicket, and Martindale does connect with this one. He's going to get 6 for it. Well, there's a bit of commentator's curse for you. I said he hadn't connected with any of them. He does this time. That wasn't really in the slot, I have to say. It was a big heave across the line, but he got very much of it, and a bit of a golf-style shot to deep mid-wicket, and landed about 5 yards over the boundary rope. So he's on to 44, 96 for 2.
Good hit. So clearly got ability, hasn't he? You know, he wouldn't be there if he hadn't. But
Curry past the umpire now. Bowls, and he goes to the same shot again, Martindale, and misses it. He looks like a player with ability who's out of form, doesn't he? That's what he looks like.
Absolutely.
Which he sort of is, isn't he?
He connects.
Yeah. So 96 for 2. So what's 170 in theory? Very possible for Notts, but it's a strange one. Curry in. Bowls. Martindale misses that. There's appeal for a caught behind, I think, there. Or was it LBW Curry's appealing for? Not 100%
Not LB,
sure.
That's for sure.
I didn't know whether it hit him as he was backing away. Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was trying to... He thought it might be a little bit of an inside edge, perhaps, as he swung and missed. Cox didn't appeal, though. Curry's appeal is like intimidating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. He really screams at the umpire. Not very emotional man when he's out there on the field, but he runs in now and he bowls. Martindale hits this high in the air. The fielder is chasing it. Is he going to get it? Oh, what a catch from Kimber! What a catch! He was running round to the right-hand side. The ball was just about to drop over the boundary rope, and Kimber caught it, chucked it back up in the air as he stepped over the boundary rope and then stepped back in to catch it. What a take from the young man. The third wicket falls and Martindale has to depart. It was hard work for his 44, but you may have just sort of refound his form, but he's been stopped by a wonder catch from Kimber. 96 for 3, 44 for Martindale.
It was the 6 that would have given him his 50, so unfortunate really. He did struggle throughout the innings, but Kimber again so nonchalant about it. He knew exactly what he was doing there, and as he took the catch, threw it into the air, momentum carried him over the rope, calmly stepped back and took the ball cleanly on the right side of the ropes, as if it was an everyday thing, and it is for some of these boys now, isn't it? They practice doing it, and he made a very difficult skill look ridiculously easy. But that's Louis Kimber.
What a catch. And you're right, it's become standard now. You see those once or twice every competition, probably. Curry to bowl the final ball of his over, and it's outside off stump, and there's a big flashing drive from Moores, who's also out of form, and he misses it. So end of the over. So 96 for 3. Was it just a 6 off that over and a wicket? So that is the end of it. The run rate has completely collapsed from a Notts perspective. 13 overs gone, 96 for 3. And again, this is what I said at the start of the over, where in theory, if another team had this score, you'd think 180 was perfectly possible. But because A, of the way that Notts have batted in this innings, and because of the way they've batted in this competition, you don't feel that's possible. Or it's less possible.
Yeah, they really don't look like a side that wants to really apply themselves in that respect. That shot from Moores was an indication, really, as much of a state of mind as anything. Ahmed is in an attempted reverse sweep by Montgomery. Thick bottom edge part pad trickles down towards short third man. Whole fields, no run. Leicestershire crowd beginning to enjoy themselves, sensing it's coming here. Steps away this time. Montgomery tries to carve Ahmed away through the offside, misses. Ball taken by Cox, an inch or so outside off stump. Ahmed is in, bowls, turns it past the outside edge, taken by Cox as Montgomery misses the drive. Stumps are thoroughly demolished by Ben Cox. Well, somehow he managed to take the middle stump out there from outside off stump and leave both off stump and leg stump sort of leaning drunkenly away from him. Umpire Baldwin, probably quite pleased to have something to do, comes running in from, or jogging in from square leg to repair the timbers.
He absolutely destroyed the stumps, didn't he?
Yeah, Ahmed is in an attempted reverse sweep, and again not middled at all by Montgomery. It trickles down to hole this time because it takes a fair amount of time to get there. He does take one, but yeah, since the end of over 10, Notts have gone absolutely nowhere, really.
Yeah, 17 runs scored in 3.4 overs. That's right, isn't it? You looked slightly disdainfully at my maths.
87 for 1 after 10. In goes, that's just 10 runs away, isn't it? Now 97 for 3 or 98 for 3, that's just 11 runs. Is that?
Yeah, that I included the over before.
Ah, beg your pardon. Beg pardon. But yeah, either way, it's combination of good bowling from Leicestershire, but struggles with the bat for Notts, edged by Montgomery. Thick edge down towards Hull, who doesn't pick up the ball cleanly as it runs down to him, but a good over from Ahmed. He hasn't picked up a wicket in his 4 overs, but he's been tolerably tight. He is the most economical of the Leicestershire bowlers in terms of his returns throughout the competition, and he's bowled his 4 overs for just 25 runs.
And this first one went for 12, didn't it? So 3 overs for 13 from Ahmed, and he's wrote back his figures, and all of a sudden this innings has subsided slightly. The platform had been set by Clark and Martindale, and nobody else has been able to follow on. Lewis Goldsworthy will bowl his second over, 12 off his first. He'll bowl left arm round the wicket to the right-handed Montgomery, who's 3 not out of 9 deliveries. In comes Goldsworthy, and he's bowled him, has he?
Yes.
Goldsworthy, yes. There was a no reaction from anybody out there, and Montgomery just moved away from his stumps to the point where he was about 2-3 feet away from the stumps by the time he tried to carve it away.
Horrible innings.
Yeah, and he missed it. 3 from 10.
And ended with a horrible shot. So surely they can find batsmen who are more informed than this in the second team if putting them out. If they're out in such dire nick as this, is almost cruel, isn't it?
He does feel it.
Goodness me.
99 for 4 is the score, and as I say, 3 off 10 for Montgomery at this stage of the innings. And he has to depart. Goldsworthy tossing it up, bowling the right delivery, just sort of stuck to his length and line. Montgomery just flashed all round it and rather sheepishly departed. 99 for 4 is the score. The run rate down at 7.
Liam Patterson-White is Montgomery's replacement, left-hander.
The left-hander, but Goldsworthy's going to continue round the wicket, bowling with the angle. He's in now. He bowls a straight delivery, bit of movement back into Patterson-White, and he clips it away on the leg side, and he'll pick up a single.
Brings up the Outlaws 100.
And, I mean, considering they were 87 for 1 at the end of the 10th, I mean, it's been painful watching them get the 13 runs. It's taken them nearly 5 overs. Goldsworthy it is, spins the ball from his left to his right hand. He's now got it back in his left as he drags this one down. They can't even punish that delivery. Moore's hitting it straight back to Goldsworthy. You can hear the crowd in the background, can't you? Sort of getting into this, cheering the team on. 44 on his back, Goldsworthy, all in green, goes back, and that's flashed from Moores. He's going to get 4 for that. Did just get enough on that. Moved back and clubbed it away over cover for 4 runs. Cut shot forward square. And well, that's the first boundary for a long old time, you know. I think that's the first boundary. Oh no, they did score a 6, didn't they? There was an over where there was just a 6 scored. It's only the second boundary in 5 overs. Goldsworthy in, and back goes Moores and hits that nicely out to deep backward square leg. It's a shame, that was too good a shot for 1, but that's all he gets. 105 for 6, Moores on to 6. Target now, what, 140, 150 for Notts?
Yeah.
Goldsworthy in. Back goes Patterson-White and pulls him forward of square to Kimber. They have looked uninspired, Notts, let's put it like that. End of the 15th over, 106 for 4. So 7 off that in the end, Richard? Yes. 100 up for Notts, but they are struggling here. And the innings are slowed up completely. It feels like no Clark, no party, doesn't it, for Notts, really?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, obviously they've lost some to international cricket, and they have players out of form, and they're out of the competition. So motivation may be lacking to a certain extent, but there's still professional pride to play for, and this game isn't over yet. 5 overs to go. If they can pick up 50 runs from it, they'll finish 156, 160. Obvious spotted.
Carlos Alcaraz is absolutely walloping Novak Djokovic. 2 sets gone. 6-2, 6-2.
There won't be too many tears shed about that, will there?
I doubt it, no.
Djokovic.
Don't think you'll get that little violin out again.
Jimmy Neesham is in from the Bennett end. Bowls outside off stump. That looked a bit wide to me and will be signalled as such. Patterson-White flung the bat at it, didn't get anything on it, and it was just sufficiently wide. It went between the blue line that is marked for the T20 and the old white line, first class markings of the crease. She will have to bowl it again. Down the slope he comes. Bowl, straighter this time. Hit off the front foot, across the line by Patterson White, out towards wide-ish, long on. Curry runs across in front of the electronic scoreboard to field. Patterson White takes his single, moves on to 3. He's played just 4 innings, so this is just his 5th innings in the competition this season. Does have a 50. No, he doesn't. He's got a 44 not out, I beg your pardon. So he would have done, perhaps. Neesham is into Tom Moore's very full outside off stump, goes for the drive, misses it. Yorker length delivery just outside off stump. Tom Moore's really is in no sort of nick at all. 110 runs in 10 innings in the competition, with a highest score of 31. I heard 1 or 2 comments from Knott's followers about his wicket keeping as well, just struggling a bit for form in all forms. In goes Neesham, bowls to him, off cutter. You could see him rolling his fingers across the seam there. He overpitched it slightly, so Moores was able to drive it, and did, but only as far as Louis Kimber, who's out there at extra cover. .109 for 4.
It's got very quiet out there. I sort of understand why. There's Leicestershire playing very well.
Probably a bit of head scratching going on amongst the Leicestershire supporters. Neesham is in, bowl short, top edged by Patterson White, and that is going to bounce down to the, well, almost long stop, almost directly behind Ben Cox. No chance at all for any of the Leicestershire fielders to get anywhere near it. And Patterson White picks up a fortuitous 4. It can happen.
So 1-1-3 for 4. 2 balls left in the 16th over. And you're right. I think you're right. I think it's a bit of head scratching. People are sort of, they haven't seen this Notts very often.
Indeed. Neesham is in again to Patterson White. Fuller this time. He drives slightly across the line, past Jimmy Neesham. Runs out towards long on where Curry is the fielder. Patterson White takes his single. Sunderland man, or born in Sunderland. Liam Patterson White, but went to college in Nottingham at Worksop. Indeed, he must have moved there as a child, because his first club was Bashford Mill Cricket Club in Nottingham.
It's a very Notts name, that, isn't it? Bashford Mill.
Indeed. In goes Neesham, bowls outside off stump to Moores, who swings and misses, tries to drive it away. It is not signalled wide. Taken by Cox, diving away to his left, or tumbling away to his left. End of Neesham's second over. 114 for 4, so 8 from it with that slightly lucky 4 to Liam Patterson White, but Foxes will be pretty happy with this.
You'd take it, wouldn't you, at this stage of the innings? 4 overs to go. And I should say, Richard, we probably should have had an eye on some of the other games going on elsewhere. It's going Leicestershire's way, I would say. Worcestershire 158 for 5 against Yorkshire, who are the latter one of the rivals for a top 4 spot. They're going on a rollicking old rate. Worcestershire are finishing this tournament fantastically. And Birmingham 133 for 2 off 15, so they're set for a solid total. They've got wickets in hand. And then the best news of all, no cricket between Durham and Northamptonshire yet. Hasn't been called off. Mike will bowl his final over, and his first delivery is whipped down the ground. And actually, it was very well stopped from Budinger. That was travelling at a rate of knots down to fine leg, bouncing and bounced right in front of him too. So he just basically needed to get his body behind it, and did so. None for 27 from 3.1 overs for Mike. So just to put that into context, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Leicestershire against Nottinghamshire, BBC Radio Leicester on the Foxes TV stream as well. Foxes in 4th at the start of the day's play, so they would get a quarter-final if it stopped today. And as Mike runs in. I'll explain the permutations in a second. It's a full delivery and it's whacked at mid-off. Moores has struck those two deliveries nicely, but he's only got one run for them. So Durham against Northamptonshire, both rivals for the top four, and they haven't started yet up at Chester Street. Have we even had the toss yet? Nope, we haven't had the toss yet. And then Leicestershire will want both Birmingham to beat Derbyshire, as Birmingham are probably already through, and then Yorkshire to lose to Worcestershire, who are already out. Mike in, bowls. Oh, he's bowled him, what a beauty! Too quick for Moores, tucked him up for pace. I wonder if there was a bit of in swing back into the wicket keeper, and it's hit the top of off. What a beauty from right armour to the left-handed batsman. And there's another wicket to fall. Moores actually looked like he was in a bit of better nick than he has been recently. Well, that was a lovely little delivery. Moores didn't know what to do with it. 1-1-5 for 5. The Foxes well on top of their East Midlands rivals.
Yeah, looked almost, it was just a little bit too quick for him, and minimal foot movement. Again, stayed on the back foot, and he continues his miserable trot. Tom Moores, just 7 for him. Lyndon James, a tall young all-rounder, comes out to replace him, to join Liam Patterson-White at the crease. 115 for 5. Well, Leicestershire will have hopes of dismissing or keeping the total to something around about 100, maybe even less than 150.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible, the way that they've been playing. That run rate's dropped to 7, when you bear in mind it was up at 9 at 10 overs. And they were getting wickets all the time too. Strange old dismissal that, Richard, I thought. He sort of didn't know what to do with it. On off stunt, didn't move his feet, tried to drag down on it, get anything of it. So Mike 1 for 27.
Has the old ball finally been found? I don't know. What has Josh Hull just handed to the umpire? Oh, it's a new bail. Broke the bail.
But did it? Is that what it was?
Broke the bail. And Hull got it one off the ground staff.
So Mike tries to move around the field. He's moving third man finer as he charges in now to the 4th ball of his final over. He's up to the wicket. He bowls to Lyndon James, who dispatches him for 6. What a shot, first ball. And it's dropped by the loud supporters in the Stench and Benno stand over to our right-hand side. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Richard's closed his eyes and put his hands up in front of his face.
It was about protection, wasn't it, as far as they were concerned.
What a shot from James, first up. 71 runs in 8 innings. He's coming in late, but that was a massive hit first up from Mike's bowling. So James 6 from 1, 1-2-1 for 5. Sort of stunned reaction from everybody there. And they're moving the fielders out straight away. I think they just think that James is going to come in and slap it around. Here comes Mike up to the wicket. He bowls and he goes for a big hit again. Appeal for leg before wicket. And the ball hits the pad, but it was probably going down the leg side and trickles out square of the wicket on the leg side. So a leg by is called.
An Oakham School product, Lyndon James. Though he's from Worksop area.
1-2-2 for 5 is the score. And Mike's final ball, 1 for 33, his figures so far. We've now got a long on. The field's been in for quite a while, and there's a lot of movement going on here. We've got a long off on, long off, deep mid wicket, deep backwards square leg to the left-handed Patterson-White. In comes Mike. He moves across his stumps and bowls a beautiful Yorker, which is dug out well by Patterson-White, but you want to do more than that at this stage. It's the end of the 17th over. The run rate 7.2. Notts Outlaws 1-2-2 for 5. James 6, Patterson-White 9, and another wicket in that over this time for Mike. And it is the Foxes fully on top. Again, 3 overs. You look at, I mean, if you take the run rate as has been, they will get about 140, won't they? Just over 140. But I think anything between 140 and 150, Leicestershire will be delighted with.
I make it 35 off the last 7 overs.
Yes, it is.
35 for 4 off 7 overs. Scott Curry comes back on at the Bennett end. He's going to come downhill. 2 overs. 1 for 15 thus far in the game. Down the slope he comes, bowls to Lyndon James, who flashes that one away, down to third man for 4, in the air. But fair enough, through the hands at it. It's in the air, over the top of the man at short third. That takes some doing, given it's Josh Hull, but it was wide of him. So James, 10 off 2 balls. Is he going to turn the match on its head? 10 off 3 balls, actually, he's faced.
He's just coming in and swinging, isn't he, I think?
He is. In goes Curry, bowls. James again cuts a shortish delivery, and it's going to go to the boundary. 4-4.
Oh, yeah. He's timing it rather nicely. Just come in, have a swing, see how far you get. But completely the right idea from Lyndon James, because his team are really up against it, but he's starting to put the Foxes on the back foot a tiny bit towards the end of this innings.
Curry getting a little bit of punishment. 1 for 23 from 2.2, 8 from the first 2 balls of his third over. And he comes, bowls. James tries to pull a shortish delivery that goes over the top of off stump. Missed it by quite a long way, actually. He can be sharp on his day, Scott Curry. And that was a quickish, angryish delivery. Friends of Grace Road coming around with the lottery. Given the crowd, it'll be a good prize today, so I think we ought to invest.
Yes, I'm up for investing.
In goes Curry and bowls. James swings and misses again. That was genuinely agricultural. Peter Hanscom waves at the pavilion, indicates that he wants a drink of some kind. 130 for 5, 2 balls to go in the over. James 14 off 6 now. Can he drag the Outlaws up to a defendable score? Down the slope comes Curry and bowls. James swings, gets a thick outside edge. It bounces once and it crosses the ropes down at a fine third man for 4 more. So he's getting a little bit of joy with good luck as well. 3 fours in the over for Lyndon James, and he has taken the score on to 134. Hasn't always gone exactly where he wanted it to, but he's swinging bravely here and getting a little bit of luck as well. In goes Curry, bowls to him a slower ball. James picks it and just waits for it, dabs it down to wideish third man and takes 1. He's going to keep the strike. He moves on to 19 off 8, and the Outlaws 135 for 5, so 13 off that over.
I've bought us a book, Richard, in the...
Did you?
Sorry?
Did you?
I did. We can share the winnings.
Is that 10? It was
That's
5.
5.
Okay,
so we've got 5 tickets in the draw.
Or are we sharing the... Okay.
We're sharing the winnings.
Right, you are.
We're sharing the winnings.
So this could be our last commentary.
It could be, yeah. Let's hope the other people have spent as much money.
Win up to £500, it says.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe 250 each coming our way, Richard. And we'll head off in the interval. So the penultimate over to be bowled then. 135 for 5 is the score. Lyndon James has brought a bit of life into this Notts innings, and Josh Hull will bowl his final over. 1 for 13 off his 3 overs. He's bowled a wicket maiden as part of it, and he's running away from us now. James 19 not out. He's past the umpire. Hull bowls, and James goes for a big old heave across the line and inside edges it to short fine leg. He gets a single. I think Leicestershire would take that though, getting him off strike. And it's easy to forget, Richard, if you remember where Notts were at one stage. 61 for no loss after 7. The oft mentioned 87 for 1 off 10. Notts had set a very good platform to make a very good total. That has fallen away somewhat. So it is Patterson White now on strike. He's surveying the scene here. There's a few movements of fielders. Everybody is out on the leg side. They're offering him the single there as Hull is in. And he hits him on the pad. No appeal for leg before wicket from anybody, apart from the crowd. He was moved right across his stump, so I wonder if it hit him outside the line, actually, or if it was going down at the leg side. Either way, 136 for 5. We haven't got the best angle. We were at about sort of 10 degrees here, so we're watching the replay. Oh, yeah, well down the leg side. So 2 deliveries, 1 run off it so far. 150 in the sights of Notts. 145 I think Leicestershire would take if you offered it to them right now. They'd absolutely take it. Hull in, bowls, full toss, pulled round the corner behind square. That's a good stop by Budinger at fine leg. Tumbling stop. And that ball was racing along the floor, so one more added. And James now back on strike on 20. This is a good little matchup between Hull and James. James very aggressive from the outset. Hull a quick, aggressive bowler, left arm over the wicket.
Yeah, Hamish points out that short balls are getting hit, full balls are not. They're getting missed.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's a very good spot, that. Hull in, 3 balls left in his final over. He's up to the wicket. He bowls a short delivery which gets the top edge. In fact, I think that might have hit the bottom of his bat, did it, or did it hit him? Just watching the umpire, I thought that hit the back of his bat.
let's have a look.
Yeah, the umpire doesn't signal anything. Very good slower bouncer from Josh Hull. He gets James off strike. 21 for him. 138 for 5.
I think edged onto the sort of body and then
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
In the other 2 games, the Bears 174 for 2 with 10 balls left in that innings. At Edgbaston, Hull past the umpire, bowls to Patterson White, who hits it high up in the air. He's got all of it. That's 6. A big hit, that, actually. I wasn't sure he got all of it at first, but he really did. It was a baseball style club down the ground, and it sailed over Neesham's head at long on. So big hit from Patterson White. 6 more to the total. They're over 140 are Notts. Patterson White with that massive 6. He's on to 16. 144 for 5.
Nearly took out the cameraman down there. He had to duck, get out of the way.
And in the other game, Worcestershire having a renaissance at the end of this competition. They were already out by the time they found some form. 191 for 5. They've still got 8 balls left. Hull in. That's another 6. That's a poor ball from Hull. That's a poor follow-up. And it was on his legs, and that meant that Patterson White, all he needed to do was guide it to the left. It was a no ball as well.
8.
So 8 off it, and he still technically hasn't bowled it.
Correct.
So
And a free hit to come.
he's got a free hit to come. Wow. Well, that's rocketed them to a 150. And they've still got a few balls to go. So, I don't know. Notts may fancy. They might fancy 170 if they carry on like this. This has been a full-on finish. 152 for 5.
Well, James and Patterson White are giving them a chance.
So, and it's Patterson White, 22. And this is a free hit, let's not forget. Final ball of the over. In comes Hull to bowl to Patterson White. It's a slower delivery, it's a bouncer, and it's pulled into the leg side. So I was going to say he's got away with it, but he hasn't got away with it, because that means that 9 came off that delivery. 153 for 5 at the end of the over. And is that 19 off the over?
18.
18 off the over, Richard. Wow. Great finish from Notts. They have picked up the pace from...
so 31 off the last 2 overs.
And it's taken them to 153 for 5 ahead of the final over. James 21, Patterson White 23. Still suggest, unless the most remarkable over happens here, that they are under par. But the way it's been going, Richard, that 170 will be within Notts' sights, and Leicestershire will want to keep it below 160.
Yeah, you're right. Peter Hanscom talking at length to Scott Curry. 1 for 28 from his 3 overs so far. So Hull probably just showed a little bit of his inexperience there. Curry is in 2. Liam Patterson White bowls very wide outside off stump, and Patterson White doesn't even attempt to club it away, and it is of course signalled wide by umpire Graham Lloyd. So start again, Scott Curry stalks back to his mark. Just lost a little bit of control in these last 3 overs. The Foxes having bowled so well up to this point. Curry is in, bowls slower ball, a little bit short, clubbed on the bounce out towards long on, not picked up cleanly by Rehan Ahmed. As a consequence, 1 becomes 2. Patterson White moves on to 25, 156 for 5.
That was difficult for Ahmed, wasn't it? I think, to be fair, I think they'll be happily considering how much that bounced. It hit a bobble or something in the pitch right in front of him.
Curry is in. Bowls. Patterson White whips him off his legs down towards deep backward square. Rishi Patel has a lot of ground to make. He tumbles, having fielded the ball. But field the ball he did, but as a consequence there was always going to be 2 for Liam Patterson White. Substantial figure, Patterson White, solidly built. Moves on to 27, 158 for 5. Came together when the score was 115 in almost the end of the, well, into the halfway through the 17th over. In goes Curry, bowls, clubbed out to mid-off on the edge of the circle. Hanscom forms the long barrier. Patterson White has to settle for 1, moves on to 28, brings the taller, slimmer figure of Lyndon James down to face the right-hander. 3 legitimate deliveries left to bowl in the over, because obviously we had the wide off the first, remember? Curry over the wicket to James, who steps across, gets a short ball, pulls it around the corner, bounces just short of Jimmy Neesham, who moves to his left, puts down both hands to make the stop. On the edge of the circle, James takes 1, moves on to 22, 160 for 5. 2 balls to go in the innings. Well, probably wouldn't have taken it at 61 without loss after 7, but I would definitely, I suspect, have taken it at 122 for 5 off 17. Curry is in outside off stump, thumped up to long on and caught by Rehan Ahmed on the hop. Long gone. He can't resist doing something a little bit theatrical, Rehan Ahmed. And he took a sort of little skip and a hop as he took the catch, but so much confidence and ability, never really looked like missing it. He didn't get his body behind it, he was reaching out in front of him and it would have gone for 6, but he took the catch. So Ben Slater has 1 ball to face.
It's strange to see him coming in so late, Richard. He's,
as I say, I think he would have come in early at 3 if they'd lost a wicket early, but they didn't. So
classy batsman Slater played most of his cricket in the 4-day format, hasn't he? I think this was his, did I see earlier, this is only his 18th T20 in his career, and he's into his mid-30s. So 160 for 6. A dot ball would be good to finish here for Leicestershire. What a strange old innings, Richard, when you think about the way it's gone.
What can Slater do? Left-hander, classy batsman. He scored a century for Leicestershire in 2 championship games. He came in on loan back in a long time ago now. In goes Curry. He swings and misses, and he will finish naught, not out. He tucks his bat philosophically under his arm, and Leicestershire will need 161 to win the game. Now, given that they chased down 186 on this pitch a couple of nights ago, they'll be reasonably confident of doing that. That said, if there is a strength in the Notts side at the moment, it is in their bowling, and you never quite know. A couple of early wickets and it could feel a very different game.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when you think about it, the platform's set by Notts. Their 2 openers got them to, what was it, 60 odd for 67 for no loss, I think, wasn't it, at one stage?
68 for 1.
68 for 1.
On the first wicket.
And then in came a bizarre period in the middle of the innings where Leicestershire completely strangled them. That's why it stayed down at 160. But then a late flourish from James and Patterson White has made it a tiny bit more competitive. But, I mean, this extends to what you were saying, Richard. I suggest Leicestershire will feel perfectly capable of chasing that.
Very much so, yeah. I would still say they're favourites to the same extent as they were at the start of the game, if not more so.
Yeah.
Pitch has played perfectly respectably, but there is always the danger a couple of early wickets go. That said, you know, they have batting firepower all the way down, the Foxes, and this is a score that they really should chase down.
So Leicestershire need 161 to beat Nottinghamshire and continue their fight for a place in the quarter-finals of the T. Pulls this round the corner, but he might have picked out the man, and he has. A deep backward square leg, just pulled it right round the corner. not a bad shot, really. Just good field place. He just picked out the boundary, barely needed to move. I think it's Lyndon James out there who took it at head height, and Leicestershire's chase gets off to the worst possible start. Budinger out for a second ball duck. The Foxes 1 for 1.
He tosses the bat from hand to hand. It's how he plays, I suppose, but I did get a WhatsApp to the effect that don't miss Sol's innings, it could be brief, and well, it was, unfortunately, for Budinger. He would have been very keen to do well against his former teammates as well, but not this time. It was actually Harrison out there who took the catch.
Yes, you're right.
But, yeah, one of those things. But not ideal from the Foxes' point of view. Plenty of batting still to come, 1 for 1.
And it's Rahan Ahmed, the new man out. I was just talking about someone who sort of needs to make an impact with the bat. Rahan Ahmed is probably one of those players, fantastically talented player. But he hasn't really made an impression with the bat. Played really well against Derbyshire, didn't he? We got 35 not out. But that's pretty much half his runs for the entire blast. Stone it is, running away from us. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, he beats Ahmed outside off stump. That's a good first over from Stone. He's got 2 balls left in it. Nice bit of shape away from the England all-rounder.
He's very much the coming man, wasn't he? The coming fast bowler, Ollie Stone, until injuries played their part. Northampton.
Ahmed waits, yet to get off the mark. Leicestershire need 160 to win. Stone skips in now, he's up to the wicket, he bowls, defended by Ahmed, and there is no run. And the run rate is still pretty low. It's going to be difficult for them to get behind it, you feel. Even though if you look at the Duckworth-Lewis par, they are 10 behind it at the very start, but a couple of boundaries will soon close that down. Stone, he sort of runs in, he's sort of hunched as he runs in. He's up to the wicket now, he bowls, and he's beaten Ahmed. That's a ripper from the England man, moving away at him from the last minute. That's a Jaffa, and that's the end of the first over. Good start for Notts, 1 for 1, getting the wicket of Budinger and conceding just the single off Rishi Patel. So the Foxes need 160 to win off 19 overs. It's not got off to the best start for the Foxes.
Rishi Patel, who was 2 games ago, in fact 1 game ago as well, excuse me, the top scorer in the competition in terms of number of runs scored, and he's gone 0-1 and has been overtaken since, so perhaps he'll re-find his form, his touch. In goes Faruqi, bowls to him, he drives very pleasantly for 4. That is not going to be dragged back, no it isn't. Lovely shot. It wasn't quite at the pitch of the ball, and Fazal Haq Faruqi will be a little bit disappointed, but he did just about get on top of the bounce, and a very powerful man steered it away to the boundary for 4.
Patel in need of a bit of an innings. He's played fabulously in this innings. No longer the top run scorer in the competition, but he's got, what, none and... Oh, did you?
Goes Faruqi and bowls outside off stump. Patel leaves, taken by the wicketkeeper, falling to his right. Morse.
Looking at the scores elsewhere, Richard, apologies, I should always be listening.
5 for 1. Ahmed yet to score off 3 balls. Rehearses a couple of defensive shots. That was a super opening over from Ollie Stone. And as I say, it must have been very frustrating for him, really. Anticipating a long international career. Faruqi bustles in and bowls outside off stump, and Patel has a fiddle. He's one of those opening bowlers, Faruqi, who sort of charges in, and you think it's going to be a bit faster than it actually is. You see them in club cricket sometimes, don't you? And it's all fire as they run in, and then the actual ball, when it comes through, isn't actually that rapid.
Bowled really well at the T20 World Cup, didn't he? He's the equal top wicket taker, I think, as Afghanistan got to the semi-finals for the first time. A landmark series for them, alongside the ex-Leicestershire bowler Naveen.
Faruqi In he goes. Quick feet, bowled him! Patel trying to turn that one into the leg side, has lost his off stump. We can only assume from the angle rat that he was playing across the line, but goodness me, decisively dismissed. Little inside edge, I think. Little inside edge onto his off stump. He was trying to take it from outside off stump. Perhaps it came onto him a little bit more quickly than he thought it was going to, and he says something to Peter Hanscom as the two cross, indicating that there was a little bit of movement there. But well, Rishi Patel's, by his standards, unproductive run continues. He goes for just 5, and the Foxes are 5 for 2 in the second over.
Well, it now makes the not start look all the better. They stuck around the opening pair, and Leicestershire in a heap of trouble now. Hanscom just the man you want to come in, and these two put on a brilliant partnership at Derbyshire that kept them in contention. But this is a troublesome start for them because they're behind the 8 ball already.
Notts sensing a chance to put one over on their East Midlands neighbours, and actually effectively probably put Leicestershire out of the competition. We shall see. Faruqi is in, bowls full, driven out into the covers, but only as far as pretty much point by Hanscom. He too is just searching for a little bit of form. He picked up an injury at Sussex, down at Hove, rolled into the advertising hoardings, and then since then hasn't really made a run. Missed a couple of games as well. So just looking to refine the form he showed at the start of the season. Clark is taking himself out of slip now. I'm going to go into mid-wicket. Almost on the catch though. He's only 4 strips back. As Faruqi is in, bowls. Hanscom is studiously leaning forward, defensively off the off stump, out into the offside it goes. End of the over. 5 for 2. And all to play for. The Outlaws will feel they're still very much in this game. And
yeah, absolutely. Leicestershire can't afford to lose another wicket in the power play. Both of their batsmen on ducks. And the run rate has zipped up to 8.7. 160 still not a big target, but they are under the pump already. Listening to BBC Radio Leicester. Leicestershire Foxes against Notts Outlaws in the T20 Blast. Leicestershire need to win, as Richard said, to stay in the competition. Notts already out, and it is Ollie Stone. 1 off his first over is in. He gets an edge off Ahmed, which goes to the man at short third man. Interesting position that. I suppose it is short third man, isn't it, Richard?
It is, yeah.
Feels a bit.
With only 2 out, but you've got a wide third man as well.
Yeah.
Genuine. Almost a catching position, I suppose. You could say deep gully, but
because there is a slip in.
Cost that little bit of movement for Stone, I suppose, with the new white ball.
Stone it is, running away from us, from the pavilion end. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, and bowls to Ahmed, and it hits his body, and they're going to get a single. Mercifully get a run, Leicestershire. It's going to be a leg by. The umpire puts his right leg in the air and taps it to signal a leg by. So Ahmed still on none. He's faced 5 deliveries to get there. He started slowly, didn't he, too, against Northampton on Friday.
Ollie Stone's test average is only 19. He picked up 10 wickets in the 3 tests he played. Just shows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So unlucky.
Well, there is now an opening. We know that. Stone, right arm, bowls to Hanscom. He's hit that high up in the air. Leicestershire are going to lose their 3rd wicket here because the man at cover is going to take it. Just about. Wasn't a comfortable catch, but Hanscom playing uncomfortably. A pull shot across the line has skied it into the air, and he's been dismissed. And Leicestershire have lost their 3rd wicket inside 2.3 overs. They had a miserable time against Worcestershire where they were in a similar position, and they've lost 3 wickets inside the power play. And this task looks very difficult from here. The Foxes bat deep, but goodness me, Hanscom has to depart for a 3-ball duck. 6 for 3.
Yeah, stunned Grace Road really, or certainly a concerned Grace Road now, understandably so. But again, that little bit of pace and bounce. Jack Haynes was the catcher. Didn't look entirely secure under it, but reached out and took it in the end. He's smiling now, but he probably wasn't at the time, Jack Haynes. Managed to hang on. It was a fairly straightforward catch, but it look a bit nerve-wracking. But Hanscom, well, as I said, struggling for a little bit of form. And Haynes took the catch, and Stone has struck twice.
And I'm not surprised to see this man come out, Lewis Goldsworthy, much more of a circumspect batsman. In comes Stone, his ball's down the leg side. Leicester's sort of desperate for every single run they can get at the moment. Hanscom played a very good knock against Derbyshire, it was, wasn't he, where he came in early.
He looks a classy batsman, basically. He looks well organised, doesn't he, and neat.
Got 48 from 41 that day.
And he can finish, as he showed on Friday night, in a brief but explosive innings.
7 for 3, Leicestershire, as Stone comes in. His figure's 2 for 2. And he bowls a straight delivery that Goldsworthy actually plays very well late on it. Played it with soft hands behind square on the leg side. It escaped short, fine leg. And they get a 2. So 9 for 3. Now, on Goldsworthy off the mark.
Remember, against Worcestershire, what were they, 29 for 5?
Yeah.
And ended up getting pretty close to a target of around about 180, I think, off the top of my head. Finished about 168, something like that. So, as I say, they do back down. There's no need to completely panic yet.
Goldsworthy waits, short man, he waits for Stone and hits this. Oh, it's dropped! It's a brilliant effort by the man at second slip. It was cut by Goldsworthy. He wasn't onto that quickly at all. It was a diving effort with a right paw, but I'm not sure who that is out there, Richard. Is that Patterson White who's fielding there at second slip? It's Lyndon James, I think.
The tallest man on the side, so no one was going to get any closer than him.
And it was a brilliant effort. He ended up sort of sending it to the boundary, didn't it? It looked like he sort of deflected it on its way, but stopped at fine leg. A single added, Goldsworthy onto 3. Nervy times, 10-4-3. And Ahmed's beaten outside off stump. And Stone finishes his second over. 2 for 5, his figures. Ahmed's still yet to get off the mark. He's faced 6 deliveries. And Goldsworthy 3 off 2. The Foxes in a pickle. And they need, I've forgotten the fact that they were sort of chasing a target. They need 151 to win of 17 overs.
If you're Clark, you keep Stone bowling, I think,
Yeah,
don't you? Because he's getting movement and a little bit of bounce with the hard white ball. And it won't be hard for long, and it won't be white for long. So keep him bowling when he's bowling like this, and try and pick up another wicket or two. Faruqi trying to continue in the pitchy bowls, and off the back foot, Goldsworthy works it down to third man competently and calmly enough takes his single. And Faruqi find a little bit of sort of swing to go with it. It was a slightly fortuitous wicket, that of Patel, but Ahmed, it's a curious innings so far. Hasn't connected with many. None off 6. 11 for 3.
To think about how he bats so aggressively.
I wonder if their mindset has been slightly affected by the lower target. Well, we don't need to bat the same way. But in goes Faruqi, bowls to Ahmed. There's a decent shout for leg before. He's convinced umpire Lloyd isn't. He says, didn't do enough, didn't either swing back enough or it pitched outside leg. We shall have to wait and see.
I mean, when you're bowling from that angle, left arm over the wicket to a right-handed batsman, you're always going to be struggling. It pitched outside the line of leg stump, I think.
Actually,
it's a beautiful delivery.
It did swing back a bit, but it was, as you say, I think it pitched outside and was probably swung back enough to gone down leg side as well. But troubled Ahmed, no question about it. None off 7 for Rahan as Faruqi in past umpire Lloyd. Bowls and looking to drive. He can't time it, Ahmed, and blocks it as much as anything off the thick inside part of the bat out towards Stone, who's at mid-on.
8 balls now he's faced, yet to get off the mark. The run rate 3.1.
Are we missing something? Has the pitch changed in characteristics a little bit? I don't think it didn't do that much for the Foxes bowlers, and I don't think it's done that much. I think Stone's pace and a little bit of a way swing accounts for his 2 wickets. good bowling as well. These are two international class bowlers, aren't they? Two international opening bowlers, really, Faruqi and Stone. Albeit Stone not for some little time. Round the wicket goes Faruqi, bowls very wide, and that will be signalled wide outside off stump. Probably is too late for Stone, I think, now to get back into England contention. I think they're going for someone.
Well, I mean, who are the obvious contenders right now to take part in that bowling setup?
Going to be 31 in October, so he's over 30 now. 3 tests, 8 ODIs.
Atkinson will obviously keep his place.
Faruqi is in to Ahmed, who backs away, edges, and he's dropped at first slip, diving across to his left, got 2 fingers to the 2 hands to the ball, but he couldn't hang on. It burst through his hands and it runs down to the boundary for 4. Is that Joe Clark? Is that the skipper there? First slip dived away to his left, so. Goalkeeper star high to his left, 2 hands to it, couldn't hang on, and Ahmed is off the mark. Luckily, Clark shakes his right hand.
It just sums up Ahmed's innings. Totally unconvincing.
He struggled on Friday night, didn't he, as well?
Some runs, though, at the very least. First boundary of the day? First boundary of the innings, sorry.
Oh, Patel hit one.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Ahmed flashes that one down to third man. Slightly more legitimately, it was still a standing still flash at the ball, but he got a lot more bat on that one. It went wide and high down to the third man boundary for 4. It will change very quickly if either of these two get going, that is for sure. But they can't afford, they don't want to lose another one too quickly. 20 for 3, Ahmed on to 8 off 10.
They also need some runs though, Richard. The knots are all over them.
Faruqi, no doubt bemoaning his ill fortune, turns. Last ball of his second over. Bowls to Ahmed, who's walking down the wicket. Blocks it, but blocks it out towards wide-ish mid-on. Stone has to move to his right to field, so Ahmed takes his single and keeps the strike. End of the over. 21 for 3 after 4. Will Stone continue? Yes, he will.
Well, it weren't convincing, but at least they've got some runs on the board. Leicestershire need 140 to win this game. And just a reminder of the importance of it, Leicestershire need to win this game to stay in the competition. 2 games left, including this one. Birmingham Bears, the final fixture next Friday. As Stone bowls his third over, you're right. 2 for 5 so far. They will continue with him. Cut brilliantly by Ahmed. That's a fabulous shot. He's sort of jumping in the air and cut it. Didn't look like much of a cricket shot, but it was effective. 4 runs through cover. And Leicestershire motoring finally.
Yeah, you'd struggle to get that one in the coaching manual, wouldn't you? But both feet off the ground, and also almost sort of helicopter sort of in and out shot.
I think it just climbed on him a tad.
Wrists extraordinarily flexible.
Ahmed on to 13, 25 for 3. In comes Stone, and he beats Ahmed, who dangles his bat outside off stump. 136 to win. Still after that dot ball. The sun has sort of gone away slightly. It's white cloud above, no danger of any rain, but it's what felt like a real summer's afternoon has stayed, or has returned, I suppose, to what we've had mostly this summer, which is clouds. Stone in, third ball of the over. Ahmed goes back and plays it into the leg side. There is no run. Let's have a look.
Still much delayed at Durham,
which they are running out of time for that one. And the worst thing, I suppose, well, it's not the worst thing, but if Leicestershire do end up losing this game, which I don't know, there's still plenty of time left, but it's not a guaranteed victory by any stretch. Stone in, 2.3 overs gone. Back goes Ahmed, gets a single for it. They may look for 2, actually. No, they're not going to. It was much closer to the field than I thought. Then results or scores sort of going their way. Derbyshire 26 for 1. They started well, actually, against Birmingham at Edgbaston. 3.4 overs gone. And then Yorkshire 36 for no loss, off 5, chasing down 206 to beat Worcestershire at New Road. Tight old finish to the North Group. Stone it is, running away from us. Blonde haired, he's up to the wicket, he bowls, and Goldsworthy defends. So 5 off this over so far, the run rate just below 9. Leicestershire all in green, their T20 kit. They'll soon change into red. Their one-day kit, isn't it, is red.
It was last year. I assume it is again.
It's more red. There's less. It was green and red mixed yesterday. So it looked like a Christmas cracker last year. Whereas now it's more red. Knots with yellow tops and dark green shorts. Trousers. Stone it is. Skipping in, he's up to the wicket. Goldsworthy goes back, uppishly plays this, but there's no fielders in the infield on the leg side behind square, which is where that goes to deep backward square leg, and it's the end of the over. So 6 off it. They'll take it, Leicestershire, and they're just settling the ship somewhat. Ahmed 14 off 15, Goldsworthy 5 off 5. The Foxes 27 for 3. In pursuit of 161, they need 134 to win, with 15 overs to go at the end of the 5th.
Yeah, and already you can sort of see there wasn't as much movement for Stone in that over. 4 overs at the most, really. You get with the white ball when there is a little bit of swing. If you can keep what shine there is on the ball thereafter, it becomes much easier to hit. Well, we're going to try a little bit of spin. Matthew Montgomery had a miserable time with the bat, looked terribly out of form with the bat, but he might be more effective with ball in hand. Can he get a little bit of spin? In he goes and bowls, driven by Goldsworthy, slightly wide of mid-off, has to move to his left to field, and as a consequence, there was always going to be one. Ben Martindale's got the pinkest trainers or cricket boots, and I think they're trainers, I've ever seen. In goes Montgomery, clipped off his toes by Rahan Ahmed, between mid-wicket and mid-on. They don't kind of both leave it to each other, but there is a momentary hesitation, and as a consequence, Ahmed can pick up a couple. He moves on to 16 now, having been 0 off 8 balls. Montgomery is in. Ahmed is playing it more or less straight to deepish mid-wicket this time. Harrison is the fielder.
He hides the ball until the very last minute, Montgomery, doesn't he? He keeps it right by his hip and then sort of slings it over. It's very slingy for a spinner.
In he steps and bowls, gives it some air quite pleasantly, and Goldsworthy tries to clip it away, doesn't get anything on it, was walking down the wicket, came off the pad. Running out from behind the stumps is Moores.
Carlos Alcaraz has missed 3 championship points. Djokovic broken back.
In goes Montgomery, bowls a little bit short this time, and Goldsworthy rocks back and pulls it out to long on, takes 1. 1 ball to go in the power play, which has belonged, as did their own, to Nottinghamshire. In goes Montgomery, driven in the air, it's just over cover. It will be dragged back before it reaches the ropes by Martindale. Oh, and there's hesitation. He's going to have to hurry there. Ahmed called for the second. Goldsworthy either didn't hear him or he was standing watching the ball. The crowd started to shout a warning to Goldsworthy, who eventually took off like a startled rabbit, and it had enough pace to get there in the end. So, end of the power play, 34 for 3. Ahmed has, you would never necessarily say got himself in, would you? But he's there. He's been there for 18 balls for his 19. Goldsworthy playing slightly more circumspectly, is 7 off 8. But they have recovered somewhat from 6 for 3 to 34 for 3.
Yeah, and it hasn't got as bad as at Worcestershire, where they were 29 for 5. Which is 1 positive. 127 then for Leicestershire to win. They're chasing down 161. They've got 14 overs to do it. They're going at just under a run a ball. They need to go at 9 and over. It's going the distance, we know that. change of bowling at the pavilion end. Patterson White will bowl his spin, left arm, and he comes and bowls a full delivery, which Goldsworthy clips off his pads. Square of the wicket for a single, 35 for 3, 126 to win. Very big day of sport. Men's singles final at Wimbledon, the European Championship final with England playing Spain at 8 o'clock. And of course this, the East Midlands Derby in the T20 Blast. In comes Patterson White, bowls, back goes Rehan Ahmed and punts it back to Patterson White. Brown haired, he's a stocky chap. Moves past the umpire now, short run up, he's in and bowls. Back goes Ahmed, who's playing in a very circumspect, very calm manner right now. 19 of 20 deliveries. England all round the stands, waits the men out at the moment with a deep backward square leg, deep mid wicket, long off, deep extra cover. Patterson is in, drops his length back, and Ahmed I don't think was expecting that, and so wristily just flicks it back. Just one run off this over so far. That run rate creeping up and up and up, the pressure building on the Foxes. Patterson White in, Ahmed goes for that. There is a deep mid wicket, but he's put it to the right of him, he hasn't timed it. There's also a long on who runs round to his right to field, so it's just a single for Ahmed, who raises his head to the heavens and not dispatching that. He's onto the length quickly, Ahmed, to pull it uppishly. He was looking for the boundary. Patterson White is in, Goldsworthy waits, comes down the track, hits him down the ground. He's timed it nicely and he gets 4 for it. The relief all round, sort of a big exhale from the Leicestershire faithful at that, just because any boundary comes as blessed relief right now. And that is the end of the over. 6 off it, and it's saved the over, hasn't it, Richard? That run rate now 5.7, 40 for 3 off 7. The Foxes need 121 to win off 13 overs. They need to go just over 9 and over.
Yeah, one of the saving graces from Leicester's point of view, there doesn't look to be any sort of turn in the pitch for the spinners, and Notts have 3 spinners, the third of whom is coming on now at the Bennett end, Calvin Harrison. You have to rely on sort of flight as much as anything, changes of pace, and having the fielders in the right position. Harrison, a very tall man, is going to bowl from the Bennett end, tosses the ball from hand to hand, goes in and bowls. A little bit short, clubbed off the back foot into the offside, but good diving stop to his left at cover by Lyndon James, means it's no run to Rehan Ahmed. Harrison's men out are mostly on the leg side, goes in and bowls, tucks Rehan Ahmed up a little bit. He can look so awkward at the crease, Ahmed, but his eye and his sort of wrists and his timing gets him out of trouble. Won't always be the case, but goes Harrison, bowls, back foot defensive, back foot cut, attempted cut by Ahmed. Doesn't time it, bounces out but slightly wide of James, so moves to his left to field, but Ahmed picks up 1. Leans on his bat, waits as the field changes for Lewis Goldsworthy. Clark, who was at point, goes out to extra cover. James, who was at extra cover, is going across to mid wicket. Both on the catch, just about 4 strips back as Harrison is in. Back goes Ahmed, I beg your pardon, Goldsworthy, cuts, gets a bit of an outside edge to it. I don't think it's exactly where he wanted to place that, but it's wide of sort of backward point down towards the third man boundary. Jack Haynes runs around to field. Goldsworthy picks up a couple, moves on to 14. These two have added 37 now for the 4th wicket. Harrison tells his long gone Stone to go a little bit straighter. In he goes and bowls. Oh my goodness, a big swing, bottom edge, and that's going to go down to the fine leg boundary for 4. Missed the stumps by a coat of paint, and it went low through Moore's gloves, perhaps underneath Moore's gloves. That could easily have gone on to the stumps, but a little bit lucky. Perhaps that's the break they need. Goldsworthy on to 18, 47 for 3.
Wow. I honestly don't know how that has missed.
Yes, it was close. Harrison is in a little bit short. Goldsworthy can go back and just dab it out towards mid-on. Interested in the possibility of a second. Rehan Ahmed is not. End of the 8th over, 48 for 3, so 8 from it, and they're pretty much on target, Leicestershire, at the moment, especially with the batting that they have to come. A lot of fire.
These two have done a brilliant job. Absolutely the right decision to send Goldsworthy out. They've had an 11-run over, that the second most expensive over that Nottinghamshire have conceded. That Goldsworthy 19, Ahmed 21, 113 to win from 12 overs for Leicestershire, so they need to get 9.4 and over. That's a perfectly manageable target. Just got to keep their wickets in hand. Patterson White will continue from the pavilion end. He'll bowl. Oh, and it's a leading edge. There's a pivotal leg before wicket, but it was quite clearly an edge from Goldsworthy, unless it hit his pad first, which is what Notts must have thought. 49 for 3.
Did signal leg by.
He did he? So he didn't hit it at all. Well, I've embarrassed myself.
Well, it just sounded incredibly wooden, didn't it?
Patterson, what it is, moves past the umpire, away from us. Down comes... Oh, it's dropped! Ahmed has hit it straight back at Patterson White, and it was into his hands, and almost it looked like it was trying to escape, wriggle away from his clutches.
3 catches now dropped.
Pulled it straight into the floor. That's probably the easiest of the 3, isn't it? Patterson White in. Bowls. Back goes Ahmed. He's got all of that this time and should get 4 runs down the ground. 1 bounce and 4. Well, let him off at your peril, Nottinghamshire Outlaws. And the 50 is up for the Foxes. 53 for 3. Ahmed on to 25.
As corn bowl chances go, although he hit it hard, it wasn't the most difficult, was it? 2 hands, what, about knee-high to his left, and he is left-handed.
And you felt like he was in position for it as well, didn't you? He was down, ready for it.
And just looking at a lot of heads went down amongst the Notts fielders. Clark couldn't believe it.
53 for 3, 108 to win. Patterson White is in. Ahmed drives off the back foot and times that nicely. He'll get a single. And again, he raises his head to the heavens, Ahmed. If he feels like it should have been a 4, he's absolutely gutted with himself, isn't he? 54 for 3, 107 to win. The run rate at 9.4 and over. The Fox is still just going to run a ball, really. As Goldsworthy faces, 19 not out. He goes back, clips it into the leg side, and it's straight to the fielder, so they were not interested in the second. They trundle to take the single. It's fielded by Ollie Stone at long on. Patterson White, left arm, round the wicket, bowling to the right-handed Rehan Ahmed. And he comes again. Back goes Ahmed, cuts and finds the gap. And the infield, but there's a man at deep extra cover to field, that being Calvin Harrison. And that's the end of the over. And it's 55 for 3 is the score. So 7 off it, enough from a Fox's perspective. They're not losing track hugely, and the 50 partnership, it tells you all you need to know, Richard, that Leicestershire, if I just tell you, if you're just joining us, I tell you that Leicestershire, I've lost 3 wickets and have just got a 50 partnership for the 4th wicket. That just tells you how dire it was at some stage. These two have recovered from 6 for 3 to 56 for 3. The Foxes require 105 to win off 11 overs.
Lyndon James, so after 4 consecutive overs of spin, we're going back to a little bit of seam. Lyndon James is going to come down the slope from the Bennett end and bowl to Rehan Ahmed, who stays back, of course, and just tries to work it away off his legs. Gets bits of an inside edge to it, but Slater has a lot of work to do to run to get to the ball, and comfortable single taken by Rehan Ahmed. So 104 off a 10.5 now. Rate required creeping towards 10, but again, Leicestershire won't be concerned about that.
It's interesting. When does the rebuilding stop and you want players to hit out and start to take it on?
I guess Ahmed has kind of been doing that. Let's see what Goldsworthy does with this one. Turns it in the air off his legs, probably off the stumps actually, out towards deep mid-wicket. Harrison comes in and fields on the bounce, throws on the bounce, I should say. And Goldsworthy on to 21. Well, Ahmed is going to play the same way, whatever, isn't he, I suppose, so Goldsworthy can let him do that.
You've got Neesham and Kimber to come, can't you? And
exactly,
you don't want to give them... But you also, in the same way that you can rely on them to hit out, you don't want to give them too big a job to do.
James is in. Ahmed is advancing down the wicket. James sees him coming, follows him slightly. Ahmed blocks it out towards mid-wicket and takes two. Good running by both Lewis Goldsworthy, who was running to the danger end, and Rehan Ahmed. They both went straight away. Harrison's throw was a horrible one for the bowler. So very, very fast, and it's a finger breaker. And James had nothing to do with it. Let it bounce through to the man backing up on the edge of the circle on the other side. James is in. Bowls. Ahmed is just waiting for it, deflecting it down towards third man on the edge of the circle. Dot ball, 60 for 3. James, can he come out of the over? Keeping it tight. Just for useful to know where, in terms of where Leicester are at. Duckworth Lewis with those 3 wickets down is showing 73. They're on 60 at the moment. James is in. To Ahmed, very good short-ish delivery. Ahmed flexed at the knees and tried to ramp it over the wicket-keeper and over sort of first slip. Bending backwards as he did so. Didn't get anything on it. Seen very much as a scoring opportunity, a bouncer in T20 cricket. So just the 4 runs from the first 5 balls of the over. James is in, bowls onto the legs of Ahmed, who just leans forward, clips it out towards backward square. Slater fields, and 1 is taken. So we are halfway. I still think Foxes are favourites because of the amount of batting they have to come, but it is not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination.
The equation is simple. 100 runs required in 10 overs, and they have 7 wickets in hand.
Yeah, with a lot of good batters to come. They should win this. And
very destructive ones too. Ahmed and Goldsworthy did a very good job in rebuilding, but I don't know what you think. I sort of feel like the time for rebuilding is over now. They've done a very, very good job. Wouldn't change a thing about the way that these two have batted, but it may have to change. Harrison to bowl. Down the pitch comes Ahmed, and he flicks it away on the leg side. That's not a convincing shot. And he may feel that that should have been punished because he hit it, came charging down the track, and it was a low full toss as he hit it, and in fact he is disappointed with it as again he tilts his head back. He moves on to 32 off 35. Goldsworthy on 21 now strike. No, it's on now on strike. Harrison bowls his leg spinner. Goldsworthy pulls a short delivery, gets 4 for it. Full of relief in the crowd there. It was too short from Harrison. And Goldsworthy turned onto it. He's onto the length quickly and whipped it away for 4 runs. Every boundary feels like a big blow to the 161 target. Harrison in. Goldsworthy waits and late cuts and plays it out to deep point. They should get 2 here, and they do. They run on the arm, but it is a long way out on the offside to the right-hander from the pavilion end. And so they were sensible to run the 2. So 7 off the over already. 68 for 3, 93 to win. 3 balls to go in the over. Goldsworthy on 27. Wait. He's faced 18 deliveries. There's a kid running in front of the side screen. Harrison in. Goldsworthy sweeps and picks it off the middle stump, and he's going to get 4 for that as well. Brilliant shot. Brilliantly placed from Goldsworthy. At first I thought he got his placement all wrong and that he sort of misjudged the shot, but he got right on top of it and crunched it along the floor to a wide long off position. And there's another 4. 72 for 3. Goldsworthy on to 31. That's more like it. In comes Harrison again. Back goes Goldsworthy, and very sensibly and elegantly plays it into the leg side, where he'll get a single. Harrison has to field off his own bowling. There are 1 ball left in the over, and there's 12 off it already. Run rate back down below 10 required for the Foxes. Harrison in, tosses it up. Ahmed does very well there. His eyes could have lit up. It was just full of a half volley length, but he just drives it down the ground. End of the over, 13 off it. That's how Leicestershire need to play for the rest of the innings. And what was very striking there, Richard, was not too many risks, but they found the gaps, got enough runs from it. 74 for 3 is the score. They need 87 to win off 9 overs. And they've closed the gap on that Duckworth Lewis par, which won't matter in terms of actuality, in terms of we won't have any rain. However, it just gives a good guide for the Foxes as to where they should be, and they're not far off.
James is going to continue. It's interesting that Goldsworthy, who looks as though he's been the more restrained, has 32 off 20, Ahmed 33 off 36. In goes James, bangs it in a little bit short. Ahmed tries to pull it, bottom edges it out towards backward square. Slater comes into field, but Ahmed picks up 1. If you just have a little bit of a look, play yourself in to any extent that you can in T20.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the men's singles title, won its 3rd set tie-break, straight sets against Novak Djokovic.
James is in and bowls, pulled in the air by Goldsworthy for 6. Umpire Lloyd waiting for the signal from Ben Slater, but I am sure that Slater will raise 2 hands, and there indeed goes the signal for 6.
Helped out by the 12th man there running around the side of the field, signalled 6 to the umpire.
Good to see. Goldsworthy on to 38 from 21 balls.
First 6 of the innings, I think.
I'm trying to think. I was going to say, I can't think if there's another. I don't think there is. James is in, bowls again a little bit short. This time Goldsworthy goes back and wristily works it. Good batting down towards deep backward square and takes his single. 39 to him, 82 for 3. Past the halfway point in terms of the target. Just the 3 wickets down. As I say, all it needs is one sort of really good innings or decent partnership, and you're going to get close to a target of 160. In goes James, hit up into the air. Probably Ahmed is going to be caught. He is caught at mid-off. Had to run backwards a long way, took it two-handed above his head, but Ahmed has been living, well, he's been living dangerously since the start of his innings, really, and in the end, he ran out of luck. It was a decent catch, running back from mid-off, 2 hands above his head, but Ahmed has made a substantial contribution, 34 off 37, and he's put Leicestershire on their way, one feels, towards winning, but still with work to do. Matthew Montgomery was the catcher.
Dare I say it, Richard, I'm going to word this carefully. I don't think that is bad news for Leicestershire, losing that wicket. Ahmed has played brilliantly and should get huge credit, as you can probably hear down below he is getting, for rescuing Leicestershire from a point where they were 6 for 3. Him and Goldsworthy have played brilliantly, and he's played in a restrained manner, but he didn't look in form out there, did he? And he didn't look like he was going to destroy the Notts attack. Be really aggressive, get it away, put them on the back foot. And he wasn't timing it properly throughout the whole innings, was he? So, look, now perhaps the time for Neesham and Kimber to come in. Although Goldsworthy has started to up the ante, so Neesham, probably the right time for him to come in now. He's got a platform. He can play how he wants with a little bit of comfort, but Ahmed should take a bow for what was a very good innings there.
But one can bring 2, and that is what Notts will be hoping. James is going to go around the wicket to the left-handed New Zealander Neesham. He looks around him. Sees cover on the offside and down at 3rd man, but also on the leg side as James is in. Bowls to him. He drives off the back foot out to Calvin Harrison. Oh, hurts himself, Harrison, there, as he went down to pick up the ball, and didn't seem to be any issues, but just jarred his left knee a little bit, and he's leaning over. I think he's going to be okay. That looked a nasty one. 83 for 4.
Leicestershire could do with 67 off 34 balls, which is what he got on Friday night.
James is in, bowls to Goldsworthy, who goes back and turns it. calmly, as he's done on a number of times in this innings, out towards deep backward square. Slater is the fielder, and one is taken. Goldsworthy keeps a strike, moves on to 40 off 23 balls, and in its own quiet way, it's been an excellent innings from Lewis Goldsworthy. Neesham has his single, 84 for 4 off 12, so 77 off 7 at 9.6 runs per over.
Barely put a foot wrong, Goldsworthy, with bat or ball, has he, since he's joined on loan? And he's played some vital innings with the ball. I mentioned the 40 that he got against Derbyshire that nearly got them home in that game, recovered from a difficult position. This innings, he got a 75 in the county championship that went a long way to winning a game there. So start of the 13th over. Harrison will bowl it. He bowls a full toss, and Goldsworthy has dispatched him for 6 more, I think, down towards long on. Yes, 6 is signal. That was a poor ball from Harrison. Low full toss, and Goldsworthy gave it the treatment it deserved. It feels like he's in now and is starting to push on the accelerator. Leicestershire gets 6 more added to the total. 90 for 4. They need 71 to win off, what, 7.5 overs. That's a good start to the over, just takes the pressure off really. Anything else feels like a bit of a bonus now. Harrison in, bowls, and he sweeps Harrison fine, and it's fielded by the man there at short fine leg, tumbling to his right. Decent shot that from Goldsworthy, tiny bit finer. I think he would have got away with it. 70 to win.
Interesting if Leicestershire do qualify for the quarterfinals. Will Goldsworthy be able to come back? I don't know what the arrangement. The arrangements are going to be. Who's going to be here for that?
I mean, we spoke about it before we came on air, didn't we? We'll come back to that in a second. Harrison comes in. Neesham goes for a big hit down the ground. Has he got all of it? I don't know. Yes, he has. More than enough. Over the boundary rope for 6. It's not a big backlift on that, not a big follow through. Just a big, strong punt down the ground from Jimmy Neesham, and he lofts it high into the air for 6 runs. That's what he can do, Jimmy Neesham. With very little effort, big, broad frame can get you a long way. 97 for 4, 64 to win. And that run rate is going down and down and down as a result of that over. Is it 13 off the over already, Richard? 3 balls into it. Neesham waits as Harrison is into him. Another full toss, but it dipped right at the last moment. And Neesham just about digs it out. A single taken. But yeah, I mean, just to explain to listeners and viewers, it's 3rd, 4th, 5th? The quarterfinals of the T20 Blast of September, that is, I'm talking about. And so the team will be totally different. Presumably, if you're a Leicestershire fan, Neesham can't come back. For that, I'd be surprised. In comes Goldsworthy, sweeps, he's hit that high up in the air, and he'll get a single. That, I have to say, very well controlled, that Goldsworthy, because I think he realised quite early on the ball was bouncing higher than he thought, and he played the wrong premeditated shot. So he just took a little bit off it, and in the end kept it not to about 2/3 of the way to the boundary and safe. 99 for 4, 62 to win with 7.1 overs to go. Neesham waits, Harrison in, back goes Neesham, clips him into the leg side, he'll get a single for that, and so that's a very good over from a Leicestershire perspective. 100 is up for the Foxes, which means my maths doesn't have to do too much work, considering they were 84 for 4 beforehand. 16 runs off the 13th over. And the Foxes, now that we're sort of dealing in balls now, aren't we, rather than overs. They require 61 to win from 42 deliveries, and they should do it from here, Richard, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should, absolutely should. For the first time, they're actually ahead of where Notts were at this stage, because these are the overs that...
And level with Duckworth Lewis as well for the first time.
That Leicestershire's bowlers really squeezed in the middle overs. Made a big difference. So it's wickets really for Notts, that they know they're not going to restrict Leicestershire if these two stay around. Goldsworthy, highest score of 48 in this competition for Leicestershire. Chance to go to 50, but it's Neesham who's on strike as James goes round the wicket to him. He bowls full outside off stump. Neesham looks to drive, puff of dust as the ball thuds into the ground, rolls out towards Harrison. In the covers, 1 is taken. Jimmy Neesham does have his own chant now. I was sent it this morning. Fairly complimentary.
Is it family friendly?
It's yeah, just about repeatable.
I say that because there are ones for other players that most certainly aren't.
Absolutely. James is into the right-handed Goldsworthy on 48, who is turning it calmly out towards mid-wicket. Even his hits seem to be fairly calm. Goldsworthy, the Cornishman. There's no way that Somerset would let him go permanently, I don't think, to Leicestershire. He made 120 in the Championship towards the end of the last season on one of the rare chances he had for Somerset. You know, they very much see him as part of their future. In goes James and bowls to Neesham, who slams it back at him. It thumps into the stumps. Umpire Lloyd tries to jump out of the way. In fact, it bounced off the stumps back out into the offside. Had James somehow been able to get his left hand to it, Goldsworthy, I suspect, would have been run out there. As it is, it was hit too hard and too straight, and he wasn't able to do so. Neesham on 211. He already looks a different cricketer, doesn't he, Neesham, now? He looks something like the finisher we know he is, really, after that innings last time out. Struggled in his first couple, but he looks full of confidence now. James is in to Goldsworthy. Slower ball, but read by Goldsworthy. Stayed on the back foot, cracked it out into the offside to the sweep end, picks up the single he needed for his 50. Well, he's waving a wand.
I just saw that.
I wonder what he was for a minute there. A little sort of twig. In fact, it was a wand. The wizard Goldsworthy. Well, I'm not sure about that, but he has batted really nicely. His 50 has come off just 28 deliveries. And he's taken Leicestershire a long way towards winning this game. And they will take their quest for the quarter-final place to the last game. In goes James and bowls to Neesham, who gets a foolish delivery that he looks to drive. Doesn't quite time it, but he gets it through the very straight mid-on, out towards long gone. And again, you get the impression that Notts sort of know their fate. Just the body language isn't of a side that believes they can win this game from here. 105 for 4, 56 to win. They should, because you never know. Another wicket or two at this stage. In goes James, bowls short to Goldsworthy, who hooks and hooks for 4. Really quick wrists, really quick hands for Goldsworthy. He's a classy little batsman, Lewis Goldsworthy, and he hit that unerringly. Very, very square out to the boundary. No chance for the 2 men out on the long side, the leg side boundary. 109 for 4 after 14.
Poor ball, bad shot, I think. Needed to keep it tight there off the final ball, and it would have been a very good over from a Notts perspective, but as it is, 9 runs have come off it, which is exactly what is required. 52 to win for Leicestershire off 36 deliveries. Jimmy Neesham there is capable of doing that in a few bludgeoned hits, and with Goldsworthy standing firm on 54, Leicestershire in a good position. The other results in the other scores, I should say, in the North Group: Derbyshire 120 for 5, chasing down 199 to win at Edgbaston. That's a good result for the Foxes. And Yorkshire 122 for 3 off 14, chasing 206. That one in the balance. Faruqi, the Afghan, will bowl his first over from the pavilion end, his 3rd in total, and Neesham has crunched him out to the cover boundary. He will just get a single though. That was a lovely cut off the back foot, forward of square. So he gets a single for his trouble. 13. He moves on to 51 to win. And still no game between Durham and Northants. That game hasn't been abandoned yet, but the teams haven't been announced. I haven't seen anything else to suggest we will get a game there. So if Leicestershire do win, even if Yorkshire win that game down at the New Road, it will have been a good afternoon, but Leicestershire have to get the job done here. Goldsworthy waits. His bat raised. He's up to the wicket. Faruqi bowls. That's a lovely flick of the wrists from Goldsworthy, who's timing it very nicely now and playing more expansively. He'll just get a single, though, as it's behind square on the leg side. Straight to beat deep backward square leg. Got a left-hand, right-hand combination, so the field changes. So the men out for Jimmy Neesham are deep mid-wicket, deep backward square leg, long on. Fine leg and third man are up. And there's a deep backward point. Long off is, sorry, mid off is there as well. Faruqi in, bowls a Yorker, and Neesham drives along the floor back to Faruqi, who flicks his hand because he's been stung by the harshness of that shot from Neesham, but it is a dot ball. So we've had 2 off the over so far. 1 for 17 from Faruqi, who has got 2 for 58. He's going about 8 and over, which I suppose is okay. 2 wickets. He's joined in the second half of the T20 Blast, much like Neesham. Both were away at the World Cup. Faruqi running away from us now. He's in. Neesham goes for a big heave, doesn't get all of it, plays it down the ground and gets a single. 112 for 4. 49 to win. The target now under 50 for the Foxes. In 32 balls. As Faruqi turns, very calm man, chilled, nonchalant start to his run-up. He's not the tallest man, Faruqi. He's into Goldsworthy. He goes for the big heave. Is he going to get that over cover? Yes! Just over. And they'll get 2, this pair too. The crowd cheering the good running. Good shot from Goldsworthy. The right attempt, he just didn't time it, trying to get it over cover. And he did that at very least. Just a few agonising yards. I noticed our colleagues from Radio Nottingham, I don't know if you saw this, jump in the air as that just landed over his head. They thought that might have been the wicket.
He turned very slowly, Clark, there, didn't he? For it seemed to be in the air for quite a long time over his head. But, yeah, quicker fielder might have just got underneath it.
Goldsworthy, 57 not out, 114 for 4. This is the final over of the 15th. In comes Faruqi. Goldsworthy cuts and he will get a single for it. Doesn't time that overly. So that's an okay over for Leicestershire. 6 off it. Would want to do better. Could have done much worse. 115 for 4. 46 to win off 30 for the Foxes if they're to keep in the T20 Blast race. Just a reminder, top 4 go through to the quarter-finals. Leicestershire started the day in 4th, having played a game more than some of their rivals. This would take them up to 14 points, which I don't think would be enough. It almost certainly wouldn't be enough. They would need to beat Birmingham on the final day to do it. But if they were to win, if they do get home, then they will take it to the final day against a Bears team that are already through. And if they win today, we'll probably have sewn up a home quarter.
Yeah, it may be in the Foxes' hands. And that's all you ask going to the final game. Montgomery is in, bowls to Goldsworthy, with that now becoming accustomed to it. Little wristy work away off the straight out towards long on, where Stone runs into field. Goldsworthy takes his single, moves on to 59. 116 for 4. Remember, Notts accelerated a little bit at the end of their innings. Duckworth-Lewis, well, Leicestershire only just ahead of that. If a wicket were to fall now, if that system is to be believed, there's not much in the game. You feel Leicestershire in control.
It's the wickets, isn't it? And who's in, I think.
It is indeed. Goldsworthy playing a great hand at the moment. Bowls short that time, and Neesham advances down the wicket and just clubs it dismissively straight back through mid off to the long off boundary 4-4. Hit with frightening power, really.
Yeah.
If you're the bowler or the fielding side, I mean, there is a long off, but he barely moved and it went across the ropes about 10 yards to his left. Montgomery is in again, bowls down the leg side, pulled by Neesham out towards long leg. There is a man at sort of wide, deep backward square running round to field, and Neesham happy with just 1.
I think you're right that on the face of it, it looks narrower.
Montgomery in to Goldsworthy, who goes back. It's probably not quite wide enough for he anticipated cutting it, ended up sort of driving it off the back foot out towards long off. Martindale comes into field.
You just feel that 1 over from Nottingham, 1 over from Goldsworthy, and it's done. That's the difference.
Yeah, you feel that they've very much got this, the Foxes. Montgomery is in. Nottingham drives. It's going to go over Clark again, just off a thick outside edge. Bounces out, excuse me, towards backward point. Clark picks up. Nottingham picks up 2. A couple of fortunate moments in the last couple of overs then. Both just over the head of Joe Clark. Nottingham on to 21, 124 for 4, 42. These two have put on now for the 5th wicket. Montgomery is in. Reverse swept. Very nice pickup as well by Nottingham over the 2 men at short third and down to the 3rd man boundary for 4. Lovely pickup by Nottingham, who does now look in complete control. Out there, end of the 16th over. The Foxes have moved on to 128, so 13 off the over. And at the moment, it looks like only 1 winner in the game. Well,
you can hear, probably on the effects microphone, the relief, the loudness of that cheer from the Leicestershire fans. I think they told you that may well have been the big blow from a Foxes perspective. Big over from them. I think it told them that Nottingham looks comfortable as well. And 33 now from 24.
He's better coming in lower down the order for me.
You look at how Rahan Ahmed and Lewis Goldsworthy batted as Goldsworthy drives and gets a single. It's parried by the fielder at cover as he just knocks it to long off and just gets a single. So 32 now to win off 23. Still not out of it. Another big over from Nottingham would do mightily handy. 129 for 4 in pursuit of 161. Patterson White is in. Nottingham comes down the track, hits this hard along the ground, but it's just a little bit too wide to go to the boundary, so he gets a single. But he hits it hard, doesn't he? You may have heard
Goldsworthy had to sort of flinch. I flinched up here. I mean, Goldsworthy twitched out of the way of that, but it just must have... You feel the friction of that one as it went past him. It does hit it like a tracer.
Patterson White, 3rd ball of the over, into Goldsworthy, who drives again through cover, and I think they'll just get a single. They look for the 2 here. They will, and that's a sensible decision. Crowd in full voice on this Sunday afternoon. 1-3-2 for 4. I've never heard them play the celebratory music for a 2 before, but they have gone for it there. I can understand why. 29 to win off 21. Patterson White is in. Goldsworthy sweeps high up in the air. It's going to go for at least a 4. It is 4. 1 bounce 4. Lovely placement from Goldsworthy. Got onto it quickly and placed it perfectly. Navigating it fine on that leg side and getting 4 runs for it. And the equation looking a lot better from their perspective.
The end is coming quickly now, isn't it? They'll try and finish this with at least an over to spare, I suspect.
Would help the run rate. Patterson White is in. Goldsworthy waits and drives again. He hits this straight at cover. There will be no run. We've got 1 ball left in the over. Things looking a lot better now from a Leicestershire perspective. Patterson White, final ball of the over. Goldsworthy swings for it. I feel he's holed out here. He has. To deep mid-wicket. Big sweep, and he's gutted because he wanted to see his team home. He hasn't, but he's played a blinder here for the Foxes. He's gone for 67, and he's probably done all the hard yards, but he deserved to see his team home, and actually possibly should have as well. But he's gone, and Louis Kimber is the new man in. This job not done yet, even though the Foxes, needing 25 to win off 18, will fancy their chances.
You hear the applause for Lewis Goldsworthy. He raises his bat, still a little bit cross with himself, the Cornishman. Walks off the field knowing he's put his side a long way down the road to victory. 136 for 5, 25 still needed off 3 overs. Neesham's there, Kimber's there, 2 men who hit the ball very, very hard, very, very far.
Just worth reminding listeners and viewers of what the situation was when Lewis Goldsworthy came in. They were 6 for 3, the Foxes, and on course at that point to lose their place in the quarter-finals. As it is, they are on course to keep up their charge towards the last 8.
Feels like a final roll of the dice now from the Outlaws. They brought Ollie Stone back on, 2 for 11 from these first 3 overs for the fast bowler. Comes in from the Bennett end, bowls to Jimmy Neesham. Very full, very wide, almost a... Well, it was a full toss by the time actually Neesham reached it. There's much amusement between Stone and Neesham about something. It was not one of Neesham's former clubs as well. He's not quite sure. I have to check that.
It might have been that it was going for a wide. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the replay of the ball, but it did look wide, and Neesham's a big man. He was stretching.
Managed to steer it down to third man for a single.
Would have been a wide, Richard.
Yeah, it would. Faruqi, who'd come up, has to go back down to the boundary now, to the long leg boundary for the right-handed Louis Kimber. Will he try and hit his first ball for 6? As Stone goes in, bowls to him. Good slower bouncer, but it's down the leg side. Did he get anything on that? Did it go over the stumps? Umpire Lloyd is thinking about it and decides, no, you stepped inside the line there, Louis Kimber. You stepped across. It's a very funny position Umpire Lloyd is adopting at the moment, with one hand on his hip, slightly camp. But he won't mind me saying that. He's a dry, it might just have flicked the hip actually as well as it went through. Stone is in, bowls, Kimber backs away, steers it, beautiful piece of timing, but he picks out the man on the point boundary, so it will be just the single. 138 for 5, Kimber off the mark, 24 needed.
Couple of boundaries would do very handy here, Richard.
16 balls, he says, eventually.
I think you're calmer than me right now.
Yeah, I think they're in control. Round the wicket goes Stone to Neesham, who drives, a fullish delivery out towards long on. Kimber will look to turn for... Oh, he's going to have to hurry here, Louis Kimber. Oh, it wasn't a good throw. It bounced up. Had he been a decent throw from long on, it bounced up and Stone wasn't able to take it cleanly. Kimber was in trouble, but he wasn't able to take it cleanly. The bowler bounced through his hands, and in the end, Neesham picked up 2, moves on to 29, 140 for 5, 20. The fact that they took on the arm for the second indicates that they're still slightly nervous. 14 balls to go, 21 needed. Stone is in, bowls, Neesham hits up in the air and hits straight over long on for 6, over the sight screen and into the hospitality boxes, actually above the sight screen. The lady throws it down there, doesn't manage to clear the advertising hoarding, but she's very happy with herself having gotten out of the way of the ball in the first place. Lovely hit by Neesham, short-armed straight drive and beautifully timed. Almost all over now, 15 needed off 13 balls.
Yeah, that you feel is the big blow. That was the one Leicestershire fans needed to just put their mind at rest.
Stone turns, runs down the slope, bowls to Neesham, fullish again outside off stump. Neesham calmly reaches for it, plays it along the ground out to backward point and takes 1. End of the 18th over, 147 for 5, 14 needed off 2 overs with 5 wickets in hand. It should, emphasise should, be a stroll in the park for the Foxes.
Oh, Richard, how can you say that?
Yeah, I've seen them enough, and they'll get over the line here.
Yeah, the 2 batsmen that are in make you comfortable enough. It's 2 big blows, isn't it, really? 2 boundaries for Leicestershire will do it. So 147 for 5, 14 required off 12 deliveries. And Fazul Haq Faruqi will bowl from the pavilion end. 1 for 21 from his 3 overs so far, and Jimmy Neesham, 36 not out, is stood waiting for him. He moves across and heaves this down the ground. He hasn't fully placed it properly, so it zooms down to long off, and a single is added to the total. 13 to win off 11 deliveries. This will move Leicestershire up to 14 points. Derbyshire are going to lose at Birmingham. That's a big blow for them. But it's going to go all the way at New Road. Yorkshire 1-7-6 for 4. We are going to get a game between Durham and Northants, Richard. That must only be 5 overs, surely. Northants have won the toss and will field.
Much easier to chase in those circumstances.
Kimber, 1 not out. Oh, goes for a massive heave and it goes through. Just dies in the pitch. He got done there by a slower ball from Faruqi. So 13 off 10 required for the Foxes. So Birmingham will win. That's a good result for the Foxes. Yorkshire 177 for 4 in the 18th over, chasing down 206. That is a tense one. 29 from 2.4 overs needed there. In comes Faruqi to Kimber. Slower ball down the leg side. That's a wide. Faruqi's furious at that. I'm not quite sure why. That looked like a stone dead leg side wide. Or did he think he got a nick on it?
I think he thinks he stepped back, but even so, he didn't really.
So 12 off 10. I think he must have been suggesting he nicked it. Must have been. As Kimber plays it down the ground, they'll just get a single for that. Good length delivery from Faruqi, and he plays it to Stone at long on. 11 off 9. We'll get live post-match reaction. BBC Radio Leicester will be out on the pitch. Speak to hopefully Lewis Goldsworthy or to one of the people involved today. I suspect Goldsworthy will be the man we want to speak to. Neesham now waits 37 not out. Left-hander. And he waits and he goes for the big hit. He's got that straight. He's got it for 6. What a big hit from Jimmy Neesham. He got onto that quickly. It was in the slot for him. Faruqi's head raises to the heavens, and Neesham has all but sealed the deal for Leicestershire as he hits the big shot down the ground. He moves on to 43 off 21 deliveries. Leicestershire need 5 to win now, and they've got 8 balls in which to do it. Now the songs come out. What an innings, what a blinding innings from Jimmy Neesham. Just what Leicestershire wanted from him. Faruqi in, short and slow, and Neesham turns it round the corner. They might want 2 here. No, they're going to decide against it. They just go for the single. End of the over, and not the worst result either. Is there still 1 ball left, Richard? Neesham thinks what I'm thinking, that that's the end of the over. I think it's the end of the over. Indeed, it is the end of the over. There you go. 157 for 5, 4 needed off the final over.
Neesham and Kimber have a chat in mid-pitch. Not too much to say, I wouldn't suggest. Umpires are just checking there wasn't another ball to come. I think the electronic scoreboard has frozen on 18.5 overs, which is why there's a certain amount of confusion out there. But umpires Baldwin and Lloyd confirm with the scorers that the 19th over has been bowled, so it will be Kimber on strike. 4 to win. Faruqi is in. In fact, there was 1 ball to go. That could be it. He's driven down the ground, and that is it. Kimber hits him back down the ground. There was 1 ball to come. Apologies for the confusion. Weren't quite sure what was happening there. But what we are certain of is that Leicestershire have won by 5 wickets. They take their quest for the quarter-finals down to the final game, which will be played at Edgbaston in Birmingham against the Birmingham Bears next Friday, 6:30. And the Foxes will go into that game on the back of 2 consecutive wins. They are in form, and they will take a lot of confidence into that game. They do have to win it, and we are not sure yet whether that would definitely mean that Leicestershire qualify for the quarterfinals. That will depend on results elsewhere, but they've put themselves into the best possible position down there. I can see Adam is now down on the pitch. We're waiting for the players to shake hands, but we'll grab one as soon as we possibly can.
Yes, what a good result for Leicestershire. They have taken it to the final game against Birmingham Bears. They move up to 14 points, and we shall see how the other games go and whether they go in their favour. But Richard, we must remember that it seemed like a canter towards the end, but Leicestershire were 6 for 3 at one stage, and we must give credit to Rehan Ahmed and Lewis Goldsworthy for picking up from a miserable position and accelerating properly throughout the knock.
Yeah, for sure. Goldsworthy, I think in particular, Rehan rode his luck, but he did play, as you say, an important innings. But, you know, they did this against Worcestershire as well, didn't they? You know, they were in a lot of trouble there, but before recovering, with Goldsworthy playing a big knock there as well. So I think they know the good batting lineup then. I think from everybody's point of view, it has to be sort of Goldsworthy higher and Nisham coming in a little bit lower. He's much more effective coming in at sort of 5 or 6.
I'm going to try and grab, if I can, Lewis Goldsworthy as the players are shaking their hands around us. We've got 67 in the end. He's getting a lot of congratulations from his teammates. Lewis, would you mind having a word with Radio Leicester? Lewis, congratulations! What a fantastic knock. Talk me through the game from your perspective, firstly, and how you feel it's gone.
I thought we bowled really well up top. Made it tough for them to get away. And then we took regular wickets, I think, which sort of stemmed the flow of scoring. So I think on that wicket, 160 was probably really gettable for us. And obviously we lost